into the carousel immediately. He gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone up. He's been tapped and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin. Oh, no.
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lawson does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right-hander. This is it. Chris Lawson seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lawson takes it.
Pedro Zuma into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers, coming up to the cutting.
David Todd making his way back up, has already climbed 7 positions.
Oh, I spoke too soon there. Sandy goes up.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Todd passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to lead? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Todd right now going into the pit lane.
We go racing for heat number 1 here in Austria over AMX 20 in towards the Niki Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash. That's a huge lunge from Gaston Calabi, and he's made contact with, I believe, oh wow, it's a chaotic moment here. No slipstream in front for either car, and you can just see Mendezuma pushing Florian Lamigra right over.
Here we go then, Valero, he looks left, he looks right, he's getting through the right hand side, which is the inside going into 10-3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. It's looking like it's only going one way. David Dott is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Dott has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AMX ZERO to the south of France, then in Ledenon. It is race 19 of AMX season 6, and as I mentioned, we're in Ledenon in the Ray Formula 1600s.
Welcome back, everybody. So like we said, we're just over halfway through the season. Where does the time fly? I think, we don't visit France very often out here at AMX, but definitely this is one of those tracks that is going to be a banger of a race today. Already looking at a few people in qualifying. We have a few famous people out here that, I'll say famous, a few famous faces for AMX, a lot of veterans, a few people that have just joined us recently that are making it back. So I think AMX ZERO this season has become one to watch out here, Julian.
100%. I mean, I've said this throughout. AMX ZERO for me has been the highlight. I mean, just great races, great side-by-side action, and as you said, we've had a couple of special guests, and for me it's just been a great starting ground for anyone who wants to get into iRacing properly, and just always provides with great action, and I'm sure it will deliver today as well.
So for everyone out there at home, make sure to follow all of our social medias, get the updates on what's going on, as well as checking out our website. But like I said, before we get in and checking on our racers today, we have a few things to go over. Like I mentioned, we're already about halfway through this season. We've been here all the way since September 7th, and we're going all the way through November 17th. With this season's prize pool of $11,000 plus next level racing gear. The race format goes as follows for our AMX ZERO races. We got a 15-minute qualifier, followed by a top 15 reverse grid going into heat number 1 of 20 minutes, followed by that second top 15 reverse grid into that final heat number 2 of 20 minutes. For all our drivers out there, driver counts are required. You can get the link via our AMX Discord or on the website. Payouts are done in balances over $100 every single month. Once you hit that $100 threshold in your account, that money's headed your way. And we are here every single Saturday and Sunday this season. Like I mentioned earlier, you can get signed up at any time over at amxrace.com. Like on days today, AMX ZERO, a great place to dip your toes in, see if you want to get in here, or if you want to compete with some of the best of the best. We got plenty of classes for that as well. Like I mentioned, every single Saturdays and Sundays, starting out here at 5:50 p.m. GMT. On Saturdays, we got AMX ZERO, followed by AMX 5 shortly after at 7:10 p.m. GMT. On Sundays, we got AMX 10, a doubleheader, 5:50 p.m. GMT, followed by 7:30 p.m. And every other weekend, we got our AMX Mini Enduro races. This weekend, we got Bathurst coming up, so make sure to tune in for tomorrow's races as well. And our prize pool for AMX ZERO goes as follows. You get points for qualifying as well as both heats. First place getting $5, second $4, third $3, all the way down into 15th place. And for the fastest lap in Heat 1 and Heat 2, you get an extra $1 for a total prize pool per race of $73. So AMX ZERO, free to join, and you can still walk out of here with some money. So like we mentioned, going out to France today in one of my favorite cars in the entire iRacing service. Julian, it's going to be a great one. We know that from all the AMX ZERO races so far this season.
100%, and I think this car track combo is just going to spice things up even more. We're in Ledenon in the south of France. This track was first opened over 50 years ago in 1973 with a track length of 3.15 kilometers. And in terms of elevation, I mean, it's ridiculous. You can just see the climbs and drops that these drivers will face. I mean, it's pretty much a roller coaster around here. And the drivers will be tackling the track with this beast right here, the Formula Ray 1600 with 115 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, and in terms of weight, it's pretty heavy for what it is. Not a lot of actual aero. Most of the grip is from the tires and mechanical grip. The gearbox is manual, and since it is an open wheeler with not really any side pod, wheel locking can become an issue, especially through turns 2 and 3.
So now we're going to head it over, check on our drivers in qualifying. Like we said out here for AMX ZERO, it's a little bit shorter qualifying than some of our other races, but definitely these guys have no doubt out here on this track. Like we said earlier, not too crazy long of a track, just under 2 miles, just over 3 kilometers. So, but it is a little bit technical depending on what car you're out in here. There's 15 turns out in this track, plenty of short, low-speed corners out here as well. So definitely these drivers are going to have to be on their toes all day long, as right now we are on board with one of our Brazilian drivers, Dudu Barrichello. So Dudu Barrichello, like we said, we've had him on earlier on in the season as well, son of F1 driver Rubens Barrichello. So the Barrichello name out here going strong. These guys have racing in their blood.
Yeah, you can just see, I mean, maximizing every inch, millimeter of the track, just really riding those curves, and you saw there just how much banking and elevation there is, especially coming onto the main straight. Look at that hill that they got to climb there. I mean, it's so crucial getting a good run on a long straight alone, and with a climb to make sure. I mean, that could be crucial for the race, Kevin, right there, getting a good run out of the final corner and not making sure that the car bogs down on your way up the hill.
Yeah, here at this track, definitely one thing in these cars, you're going to have to be really precise. Again, the Formula Fords don't have too much downforce. It's a little bit more than what you'd have in the Formula V, not quite as much as an F4 car. So a great starting point for a lot of drivers. Like I said, this is one of my favorite cars in iRacing. I think just it really pays off whenever you're able to get this car just right on the edge of grip, really having to find where the balance of the car is, kind of getting all 4 wheels to go around. Definitely riding that edge of understeer and oversteer. So you can see these guys absolutely pushing it. Again, these cars are treaded, so they don't have quite as much grip as some of the other high horsepower vehicles, which have complete slicks on them. So definitely changes the dynamics, as we can see there. Oh, Herrera looking like spinning off. So about 8.5 minutes or almost 9 minutes into our qualifying session right now. Guys are still kind of getting used to this track. Like I said, this is one of those you just have to put the laps in if you really want to learn the layout. Not the easiest track to learn. You have to really put in the time. And so far, that's showing for some of our drivers towards the top of the qualifying.
I mean, Dudu Barrichello, half a second in front of Bruno De Carmo. Bruno De Carmo, he's no slouch. I mean, he's a proper quick driver. We've seen then AMX ZERO, AMX 5, and the rest of the categories as well. But that just shows just so much time can be found in just like a couple of corners or in just a sector, really. And also on the straight here with a slipstream like Lorente's got here, and then coming into the fast left-handers. I mean, this is where chaos can ensue, and you can see right there struggling with it, almost nailing the drift though. That's gonna be a real tricky section, especially if they're bumper to bumper like we have seen in AMX ZERO for the past season.
Yeah, definitely coming out of that turn right there. Little bit off camber on some of these turns, so they're definitely going to have to say, like I said, it's not just enough to learn the layout. Looking at a track map, you really have to be out here and see how much, especially in a vehicle like this, where you're relying on so much mechanical grip, you really have to know where are the turns, how is the elevation changes out here. So we'll have to see. Because right now still, Dudu Barrichello, he's a little bit at home out here today. We've got to see, and I know he's kind of used to the stock cars out there driving in Brazil, but he used to be in the F4 circuit in the United States as well as the USF 2000. So started up that ladder towards Indy, but has since moved back to Brazil to be running the stock car racing. And right there, we see Palermo still not too happy, hasn't been able to get in a full qualifying lap out here. So he still has a few chances to get it. These guys are running just under 1.5 minute laps. Like I said, the spread right now on the grid, you can tell the guys that have gotten very comfortable out here very quick versus the guys that maybe aren't really too familiar with this car. I wouldn't say, well, not as much with the car, because I think everyone kind of uses this one in iRacing at some point, but not as familiar with the track. So right now, we have Miguel Araujo, who famously in AMX continues to use the Lightning McQueen livery for quite a few of the different vehicles, as we've seen some of the other drivers. So He's out there in the number 12. It might be number 95, so we'll have to keep an eye out for Lightning McQueen. Will he be able to keep up the speed and get higher up on the qualifying? He has another 4 minutes to figure it out and hopefully get up there. But right now, Gaston Kulavi currently sitting in third place.
Yeah, and we say this every time, Kevin, don't we? That you may be on pole by 6.5 tenths, but when it comes to the race and making those overtakes, as we know, the top 15 reverse grid, it's a whole nother story. Finding out where can you go for it, where do you have to stick behind, where are you quicker, do you need to back off sometime to make sure you don't hit the car in front? So that can also be race defining. I mean, sure, Dudu Barrichello, he might be on pole right now by 6.5 tenths, but if he can't put that same effort into the race, he won't win. But last time he was here, I think I said the same and I jinxed him, as I think he won by a solid 2 or 3 seconds. So we'll have to see if it's the same story in Ledenon or a completely different chapter.
And one thing we're going to have to keep an eye out for out here in these single-seaters cars, these open wheelers, once you touch wheels in these ones, these are very easy to get locked up with another driver. So I've had that happen to me plenty of times, and we've already seen it happen plenty of times in AMX as well. Almost every time that we see some open wheelers out here, like I said, especially in the Formula Fords, cold tires, absolutely just horrendous. It's super easy to just cook these tires as well. Just really trying to get that fine balance. So lap 1 is definitely going to be interesting right now. So got a couple minutes left out here. Still Palermo yet to set an official qualifying lap. Dudu Barrichello sitting in first. Bruno De Carmo in second. Gaston Kulavi in that third place position. So now we're checking back in with Dudu Barrichello. Still about over half a second. So now about 0.64 of a second of a gap over himself and Bruno De Carmo. Bruno De Carmo, one of those as well. Got to see a lot in some of these single-seater cars. This do pretty well. So like I said, I think today it's going to really be how comfortable are these drivers out on this track. Circuit de Ledenon is one of those that introduced iRacing about a year ago. So like I said, it doesn't seem to be a super popular track. We don't see too many races on it, but definitely the races that you do get to see are almost always going to be very close ones. So we'll have to see. Is right now back on board Felipe Spetronev, another of the Delinte Esports drivers out here, trying to get up, currently in 10th place, about 1.5 seconds off of that top spot. So a lot of these guys still running in about the 1 minute 27 second mark. Still a pretty close grid, all things considered.
Yeah, that's usually what we see in AMX ZERO, that it's very close, as I'm not sure if Petrino had a problem with his wheel or it just went straight on, looked like it. But anyway, but Barrichello, I think he's got pole position in the back, so he will be starting the last for Heat 1 then, and I think this is, I don't think, maybe he can improve on his time. It would be phenomenal if he builds a further gap, but right now we're looking at Fraser here, who is coming through the double right hand, and this is what I absolutely love to see, just pushing it to the limits despite there being like no form of marking or curbs on the outside then, and then flicks into the left. You really want to nail these curbs there. The curbs here, they're super flat, you can really ride them. You see that right here, maybe a bit too much there, got onto the big green sausage curb. I think we're in for a great race, Kevin, especially around a track like this.
Definitely. So that will wrap up our qualifying session. We got a few drivers on the grid. Looks like everyone will be making that reverse grid for the start of heat number 1. So good news for these guys out there. If they didn't have the best qualifying session, still plenty of chances to make those points. Do a great job defending. But right now, it is your BenQ session winner for qualifying out here. Dudu Barrichello sitting in that top spot, followed by Bruno De Carmo in second. We got Gaston Kulavi in third place. Felipe Bartz 4th, Roberto Frizer in 5th, Ruben Llorente Jr. in 6th, Evandro Dantas 7th place, Edwin Encinas 8th, Miguel Araujo in 9th, Felipe Spetronev in 10th, David Pereira in 11th, and Gustavo Palermo, who unfortunately didn't get an official lap time set, but now he'll be able to make that up, leading on pole position. We'll have to see again, like it's really hard to tell from whenever someone isn't able to completely get qualifying. You don't know quite how much their pace really is. But like I said, we're all out here having a great time for AMX ZERO. Again, anyone out there watching this feel like, hey, I want to get involved in some of these races, Head over to amxrace.com. You can get signed up for AMX ZERO absolutely free, no entry fees for this race, as well as a lot of the base content. We try to keep it free all around and really just see. So far, it's brought in a few talented drivers as well. Like I said, Roberto Freezer, one of those guys that coming back this season, really making his name known. We've seen him throughout all of our other races so far the last couple of weeks. So we'll have to really keep an eye out on him, as well as right here, Gustavo Palermo, Dudu Barrichello, a couple of these guys. Another Barrichello, well, Felipe Barrichello Bart. So these guys teammates out here. We got some on the front of the grid, some in the back. As the green flag flies, here we go, folks. We have on board Dudu Barrichello trying to make his way through the pack, and just a beautiful shot now. 3 wide. See the chaos going on and almost an incident right off the bat. We have the number 6 there, Roberto Freezer, almost getting taken out. Now Dudu Barrichello going to the inside, trying to get one more position up, already up from the back of the field. So we'll have to see as Felipe Barnes looks like he did not end up gridding out here today.
Oh, and he had a good qualifying session. He was in P3, but you could see already off the bat, everyone's super aggressive, forward wide. As soon as the flag went down, and you could see already Barrichello up to 8th place, then as he just needs to suss out where he can get past in front of him 2x2 with Kulhavi and Bruno de Carmo going side by side. But all the way at the front, then Spitriv, I think he just went fully around the outside of Palermo there, which is an absolutely brilliant move. Miguel Araujo not too far back. He's very quick around here as we have a spinner there. Who is that? That is Bruno de Carmo, so one of the fast starters there. A early spin, so he's got a bit of time to make back up, but when you're racing against the likes of Dudu Barrichello, every spin, every piece of tarmac you lose out to makes out, and then as Miguel Araujo gets up into P2 with another move around the outside. So it seems like despite these cold tires, Kevin, we're still getting some great racing.
Yeah, these guys definitely finding the edge of grip already out here in lap number 1. So, I mean, there's a really close call and quite a few of those. Seeing these guys go 3 wide through around some of these sections. Again, a lot of tire touching. Luckily, we've only had one incident out here so far. But, you know, some of these, I was expecting them to be a lot worse. Like I said, it is very easy to get locked up out here just depending on coming out of these angles, especially if you're really hitting the apex and letting the car run wide going out of the corner. It's really easy to just get caught up in someone else's wheel. But right now, still, Spechnev doing a great job towards the front. Miguel Araujo also getting up a couple positions. Herencinas up there in 3rd place. So a few of these guys already up about 2 places now. Gaston Kulavi, Dudu Barrichello, some of our biggest movers there in the middle of the pack. As soon as I say that, Gaston Kulavi making up another position there, up to 4th place. But still now, it's the battle between Spechnev and Araujo. They're going to be going side by side, looking out here. Who's going to get it? Still in front just slightly, we have Spechnev. So you're going to have to be very careful now as, oh, a little bit of contact there. Araujo just sending it in super hot. That one again could have been very dangerous. We've seen these guys a lot of times out here in AMX ZERO just trying to send it, but unfortunately getting caught up. And another one there, Araujo. So getting caught up, oh, and not standing on his brakes, ends up taking out another driver. So unfortunate to see that for both of these guys, but we're going to head back into the middle of the pack. Barrichello still taking advantage of that, moving up in 4th position, looking to now hunt down Gaston Kulavi.
Went from bad to worse for Miguel Araujo. He was fighting for the lead, then made contact, and then later on spun it, and then, well, someone else, I think it must have been Evandro Dantes who got caught up in there. Such a shame, especially so early on in the race. He was doing very well there up at the lead, but now is Petrinov. I think he lost the lead somewhere. I think it must have been, oh, and now he spun it, and now, oh, that's wheel locking like I've never seen it. Dudu Barrichello having a bit of a wheelie. There's 2 cars in the background there. I think one of them is one of them is Petrinov. Of course, the initial spin, I'm sure we'll get a replay on it, but not really sure what happened there. Someone just lost the rear axle, and then everyone else got caught up in it, and that's the risk when you're so tightly racing like these guys, where like right here, if the lead car spins, everyone's getting caught up. There's the lap 1 incident. You could just see just losing the rear end there, and wow, someone taking flight even. So already quite a bit of chaos. It's only lap 3.
Yeah, these cars, there's very little room for error, although that they're a bit more of a junior series racing out here. It's definitely one of those things that since they don't have quite as much aero, don't really have that rear wing, it's a lot harder to stay having all of the grip that you really can, especially like I said, just the tires they run as well. But so far, haven't seen us, Gaston Kulabi, the two Argentinian drivers, still doing a great job. And ooh, as soon as I say that, still getting very loose. So, like I said, I think really the big thing out here that's making it very difficult for these guys is some of these super just sharp elevation changes that we can see now there. Gaston Kulabi just getting a better run out of that one now, leading into first place. Haven't seen us still trying to hold on to it, but we've seen quite a few of these drivers. It's really hard to keep the rear end just planted on these vehicles when you have so much elevation change. That compression in the suspension really can just get that bit of snap oversteer going on. So these guys still holding up pretty good. Now a bit of a gap between your top three drivers and the rest of the field. About 4.5 seconds between Barrichello and Ruben Llorente. Like I said, a lot of these guys still, I think, you know, out here today, I think really that's what we're going to see is how clean can these guys keep it. That might just be what wins the race for them today.
Yeah, we've seen that Gaston Kulabi has kept it rather clean, and he's in the lead right now. Never mind, he's not in the lead anymore. Guido Barrichello has just got, and someone was barrel rolling there. He's still barrel rolling, and I'm not sure what happened. They just, both of them getting caught up, and I think I jinxed Kulabi there with the commentator's curse. He spun and then he went barreling off into the gravel. I've never seen a Formula Ray do that. I mean, I've seen wheel locking wheelies now as well, but now a spectacular move. Here's this incident. This is the first one, the wheelie where Guido Barrichello got caught up, and there it is, landing it nice and bunny jumping above a car. So it seems like these guys are doing a bit more tricks than actual racing tonight, which is always nice to see, apart for when they lose out just like there with Kohabi.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not sure if it's the best thing to be running that Red Bull livery out here. So far, he's already taken flight, so we'll have to see exactly what happens going on further. But right now, still only lap number 5 of 14 out here in heat number 1, and it's already been tons of action going on. Maybe not quite the action that a lot of these drivers hoped it was, but one of these things that I've noticed is really how tight that you get up on the guy in front of you. It's really, whenever they make a mistake, it's so hard to avoid it. Like I said, in the Formula Fords, when, I mean, really just not Formula Fords, but any of these vehicles where you're relying on so much mechanical grip. I know we see it quite a bit as well in the MX-5 Cup cars. If you're door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel with another driver and they make a mistake, ooh, it's very good chance that they might be taking you out, and there's really nowhere you can go. You don't have the grip to make that evasive maneuver. So we'll have to see is now looking Gaston Kulabi hit the pits, now out of the pits. So we're going to take a look at the middle of the pack as well. Bruno De Carmo still trying to hold it on to Hero Encinas. Encinas getting caught up a little bit earlier on now, dropping down positions. Ooh, beautiful move from the inside. Bruno De Carmo on the switchback, trying to hold on to it. Again, these cars, if you're able to keep the draft on the straightaway, that's where it's going to be very beneficial. So, like I said, trying to be not as much as, oh, right there, another small mistake from Encinas. Lets Bruno De Carmo go to the inside. Now he has an excellent exit out of that onto the home stretch. Bruno De Carmo now in podium contention.
Well, and now in the background as well, Dant is trying to get past on the inside, and I think, has he got the move? He still kept it slumber side through turns 2 and 3, and Cena is trying to keep it on the outside. Be careful, boys. We've seen people spin throughout here, but Encinas just keeping P4, and that move from Bruno De Carmo, exactly what we were talking about in qualifying, getting a good run, or rather not getting a bad run, out of the final corner and up the hill. That's what gave him that edge on him. As now once again Evandro Dantas has a small look up the inside, but thinks the better of it, so he's already looking for opportunities to pass. But the more times he does that, he's going to lose momentum, and you can see now already 5/10 back. He needs to close back in for the main straight. I think that's going to be his best option here, and he can close up. He is closing up, but he went a bit wide there, and I think I know what Frise's idea was with the Red Bull livery. Here's the Kulavi incident. So yeah, he just loses the rear axle, missed seconds after. He said he's doing very well, and then you can see the other car just tagging it, and then some physics, he gets launched up and then completes multiple barrels. I mean, that's going to be best picture of AMX Season 6, hands down, doesn't it, Kevin?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's probably quite a few out here that these cars flying, barreling through the sky. Could make some great promo shots, but right now, still the battle going on between Frizer and Araujo. Both of these drivers seem to be pretty equally matched out here today. Like I said, a lot of them, these guys are used to pushing pretty hard when it comes to some of these single-seaters, but just having a little bit issues with some of the grip today. Like I said, some of the guys out there getting caught up in incidents that they really couldn't do much about. Just the guy in front of them spinning out, or just really the slightest tap of wheels sending them spinning around. So still a great battle going on right now. Probably the closest right currently on the grid. Due to Pericalo is already 9 seconds over Ruben Llorente. So Pericalo getting a lot of clean air and just starting to set fast lap after fast lap. So we'll have to see as these guys still, like I said, battling currently for P7 now. Roberto Frizer trying to look to the inside, doesn't quite have it, maybe. Oh, I was waiting for a wheel tap there, but luckily no contact, keeping it still clean. But now Araujo having the inside line for the next one. Frizer, oh, looked like a little bit of that front left tire starting to lock up just slightest bit. Now gonna hurt his run, but he will still be in the draft. So let's see if he tries to make a move once they get back onto the home stretch. So definitely, as we can see from some of these onboard shots, just how technical some of these turns really are. Like I said, it's really trying to keep up the momentum, but what we've seen earlier on, it's very easy to get the car spinning around on some of these elevation changes.
Absolutely, as now, we jump up the grid. Evandro Dantas has gone past Encinas. He's set behind for a couple of laps then, but he's managed to get the move done going into turn 1. Has he gone a bit too deep though, where Encinas can send one up the inside? That's real close. I think Encinas just needs to back out unless he can pull this switchback down. No, he's just a bit too far back then, and Evandro Dantas, never mind, he goes for it. That's a big lunge. I think he locks up the front right as well, but Evandro Dantas, now I can say, has managed to secure P4 then. Wow, Encinas, he did not want to give that up at all. He's still going for it, and I think there was contact. No, just, yes, there is contact, because Evandro Dantas off into the gravel trap and comes back on. He's actually not too far behind, didn't lose that much time, but sure, frustrating that he needs to spend another lap staying at the back of that clean Formula Ray 1600 then, as he just needs to get him into turn 1 and then just cover off the apex. It seems like he was going a bit wide and just inviting Encinas in every now and then, and Encinas, he said thank you very much, and he's got that move now just by keeping the pressure on Evandro Dantas. But now Evandro Dantas taking advantage of Encinas missing the apex, so both of these guys pushing very hard. Encinas now defending the inside. He does not want to do what he did previously, where he's lets the inside. As now they overtaken to the final corner. I've never seen that before. There's contact. They've both gone narrowly missing the gravel trap there onto the main straight. Now can Encinas get back past with the slipstream? It's quite a long straight in these Formula Rays, but no, seems like Evandro Dantas had a bit more momentum coming out of the final corner.
Yeah, looking at that, I mean, I'm sure, again, stewards might have something to say about some of those overtakes. A little bit questionable. I seen easily some of these guys. There was about I counted 2 of those off tracks, quite obvious, missing the track limits on a couple of those. So like I said, these 2 guys getting very aggressive with each other. Luckily, neither of them ending up spinning out, but I know both of them, you just look at the serious look on both of their faces, just wanting to get that position, fighting for it. So we'll have to see if these guys end up getting so aggressive that it goes into a crash. I know we've seen that in previous races. Some of these things, Evandro Dantas not one to give up a spot very easily, as well as Zero and Encinas. So both of these guys out here really trying to put everything they can, trying to put their nose maybe sometimes where they shouldn't. But again, sometimes in these cars, you really have to just force a little bit of space. Like I said, as long as, hey, they're keeping it clean. But like I said, it was very close on a few of those calls. But now back to the fight going up towards for second place. Bruno De Carmo caught up to Ruben Llorente. Now it's about a half a second gap between Llorente and Bruno De Carmo. So Llorente in second. Now we are lap number 10 of 14. So these guys have a few more laps. Again, I mentioned it before, the draft that you have to get, I think right here, to really be able to make a move going into turn number 1, you pretty much have to be at least within 0.3 of a second before able to make that move out here in these cars. But still, Ruben Llorente Jr. doing an amazing job of defending out there from Bruno De Carmo. Bruno De Carmo so far up 8 positions. So now trying to swing it around the inside, and that one just looks too easy. Again, Llorente just leaving the door wide open for Bruno De Carmo. Now trying to go back on the switchbacks. We see Bruno De Carmo still holding on to that second place position.
Oh, he went a bit wide though. I think he had a bit of oversteer. on the exit, and that's allowed Lorente to fight it as they plunge down the hill. But I think Bruno De Carmo, yes, he's got it. He had the inside line and he's got P2. Now he needs to close into Barrichello. So 15 seconds, go on, mate. I believe in you. But that's not going to happen. So he will probably end this session where he ended in qualifying in P2 behind Dudo Barrichello, then, who is just in a league of his own right now and managed to get through the field. He did some wheelies on his way there, but he's managed to get through, and now, I mean, that's the critical point. I mean, when Bruno De Carmo spun, that was pretty much his chances of defeating Dudo Barrichello done. Is they just lost so much time and so many cars between them. They just couldn't catch up, as he was always a good 2-3 cars behind. But then, and a spinner there, Pereira, completely unforced, completely on his own. Then Frezer is now catching up, and Araujo, so this might be a battle for P6 here in the ending stages of this race.
And one thing, taking a look right there, you see Pereira on a controller. So doing a great job so far out here for being on a PlayStation controller out there. So hats off to him. I know we've seen that before. We got to see one of these races last season. I believe it was Max Verstappen out there in his hotel room on a controller on his laptop. So definitely, hey, if you are able to swing it around with a controller, props to you. I know I wouldn't be able to do that, but still, Pereira now trying to fight off Frezer. Frezer having a little bit more of the inside line and able to just take that. So, like I said, being on controller, maybe not be able to be as precise, especially having that force feedback on a wheel definitely helps with a track like this where you're just on the edge of grip the entire time. Really, you're going to have to listen to how much are those tires schooling to know how much grip you have. But now, Roberto Frezer holding on to that 6th place position right in front of Pereira.
Considering he's on controller, he's not doing half bad at all. P7 then, and it's not the easiest thing playing a racing game like iRacing on a controller at a track like this with a car that provides pretty much zero grip and all the grips from the tires, which, like you mentioned, you feel with the force feedback how much grip you have. But now Miguel Araujo, very aggressive, maybe a bit too aggressive, as wheel looking number 1 has ensued there. The rear right there just getting caught up, as I think he's got a puncture, Pereira, or is that just... No, I think he has got a puncture. The front left looks completely screwed up there. It might even be suspension, as the tire is completely off now. So luckily the pits is just past this corner, so right now he's doing a Michael Schumacher, driving around with 3 tires. I'm hoping he can continue, as he was doing very well on controller there. It's such a shame, he was doing so well.
Yeah, that's definitely a shot right there for the reels, man. Just being able to break 3 wheels going on into the pits. So, I mean, unfortunately for them that he had that bit of contact going in, but also great control, able to make it into the pits without really just having to get towed. So, great seeing back out there. Now we're catching back up with our leader, Dudo Barrichello, currently sitting in 1st place, has over a 15-second gap between himself and Bruno De Carmo in 2nd. So he's just coming out here saying thank you guys very much. Once he got that fresh air in front of him, he is doing his best work. Now still holding on the best lap time out there. 126.3 is his best lap so far. He's still running very consistently in the 126 is his last lap, 126.5. So this guy just absolutely blazing it out there. Again, Roberto Frezer, one of those guys that probably the only really closest in terms of lap time out there, as well as we have Gaston Kulavi. So only 3 guys right now, roughly in the 126s out here in the track in heat number 1. I mean, just with that, yeah, we'll have to see if he's able to get someone out there in chat saying, will he get the Triple Crown out here? I mean, we know he has the pace from what we got to see in qualifying as well. We've seen what he's doing out here in heat number 1, able to fight his way from the back of the grid up towards the front. So I expect that he can definitely have this happen going on into heat number 2. Carry that momentum, as we are only a couple laps away from the end of heat number 1. Right now, a lot of the drivers, I think, really due to some of these incidents, have kind of spread apart on the grid.
Yeah, that tends to happen, as Evangelio Dantes and Cena's just out. I'm not sure what happened there, but did they return the pit lane, or maybe they got disconnected? But it seems like both of them are out. I'm not sure if they came together. I'm not sure they were. I don't think they were that close on track. But Dudo Barrichello is going to start the final lap now. And just as a reminder, the Triple Crown is pole position, which he has done, leading Heat 1, or winning Heat 1, which he's doing right now as well. He just needs to win Heat 2 as well, which last time I commentated on him, I thought he could do, and he ended up just losing out by 2 or so seconds. So I don't know, I'm still rooting for him. I think he can do it. He is actually catching up to a lap car then. I think that's Herrera he's coming up to, but I think he will finish the race just in front of them. But I'm still kind of confused to what happened with Evandro Dantas and Encinas.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, some of these guys out here, yeah, looking like they're completely out of the race. So I'm not sure if they just ended up something off screen, ended up in a crash, ended up having to hit the pits, or just saying, you know what? Also, both of those guys, we usually see them in mostly every AMX race, so that may also be a thing that we've seen before. I think it happened last weekend with Jackson SNJ. Wasn't really having the best of time, just kind of said, you know what? I'm just going to call it a day out here for the first race of the day. I'm going to focus on AMX 5 coming up later on, just get some practice laps in there. So we'll have to see if that might have been the strategy for Dantas or Encinas, or if they're going to be able to hit the grid for heat number 2. Right now, Herrera able to take advantage of that, now up to 9th place, as well as Palermo a lap down still. So we'll have to see. Duda Barrichello, though, coming across the home straight. Absolutely amazing race from Barrichello, just showing why he is one of the best out here that we've seen coming into AMX ZERO. Cross the checkered flag, Barrichello holding on for the Barrichello name, putting it down out here. Man, I know he's making his team proud. He's making his Brazilians proud, as well as everyone out here cheering him on. Man, it's great to see all these guys. Bruno De Carmo coming across in second, as well as Ruben Llorente Jr. in third. There we have back Roberto Frizer now coming across the line shortly in 4th place. So the number 6 there, and like you mentioned, the Red Bull KTM livery. So fun fact unrelated to all this, I used to actually be a salesman for KTM. This is not a sponsored ad, just a fun fact. But so definitely used to seeing that KTM Red Bull livery. But now, as the rest of the field start making their way across, Julian, what can we expect for heat number 2?
I would say a good mix of this race, and turn up the intensity to 11, because usually Heat 2 is quite a bit more chaotic than Heat 1. Everyone's a bit more argy-bargy, a bit more aggressive. They know how everyone's driving. They understand what's at stake, despite this being AMX ZERO. So can Duda Barrichello make his way through? I wouldn't be surprised if he does so again, but it's going to be a whole lot tricky. It's just crucial that his biggest competitors, Bruno De Carmo, Llorente, don't get caught up in incidents, because he was just able to slip through, say thank you very much, and pick up a race win with almost 18 seconds. I think that was the crucial point, that he just got through the field nice and easy without damaging or spinning or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd love to see what Barrichello can do out here in some of the other AMX classes as well. Like I said, I think pretty much we've got to see how well he can do out here in AMX ZERO, but definitely it'd be awesome to see him in some other classes. But there you go, folks, your BenQ session winner, Duda Barrichello, coming up in 1st place with almost an 18-second lead, as well as setting the fastest lap. In 2nd place, we got Bruno De Carmo. 3rd place, Ruben Llorente Jr. In 4th, we got Roberto Frizer. 5th place goes to Miguel Araujo. 6th place, Felipe Spechunev. 7th place, Gaston Kulabi. 8th, David Pereira. 9th place, Evandro Dantas. 10th, Hero Encinas. 11th, Gustavo Palermo. And 12th, we have Felipe Bartz, who unfortunately didn't end up making it to the grid. So we'll see if he's out of the race, or will Felipe end up going onto pole position. We're just going to have to sit and wait, as now the green flag is out. It looks like Felipe did not make the grid once again, but we have Gustavo Palermo and Evandro Dantas getting a great start, running it right into turn number 1. Absolutely beautiful there towards the middle of the pack. We have the number 52 trying to make moves as well. Felipe Spechunev trying to hang it around the outside. He was able to do that in the last heat. But looks like right now, these guys, like you mentioned, Julian, just getting a bit more aggressive, a bit more defensive out here in heat number 2.
And it's not worked out. There's quite a bit of contact. There's 5 cars on top of each other. There was a small incident at the back. Can't really make out no Miguel Araujo there, but also Evandro Dantas. So Evandro Dantas from P2 on the grid then. And Duda Barrichello has done exactly what he did last race, but a whole lot better. Already up to P2. Gaston Galavi's out of it, and 4 cars just dropped over 3, so as Felipe Bartz was already out, dropped out in the matter of less than a sector pretty much. I mean, I would love to see a replay as There was a small incident just before turn 4, I think, where someone lost the rear axle, and then a bigger one on the exit of turn 4 where just 5 cars decide to have a tea party at the edge of the track and then just chill. But now, look at that, Barrichello, real aggressive, and he gets past his fellow livery teammate. I'm not sure if he is his teammate, same livery anyways, but behind them then, Lorente, Pereira and Stefina, very close between them. Look at that. I think, yeah, Pereira going for a different line, trying to get a better run, but I would love to see a replay of that first lap accident.
So just like that, yeah, I'm sure we'll have a replay coming up of that one. Just so much chaos going on. Now we can see 6, all the way from 6th place down, hitting the pit. So only our top 5 drivers currently have been still out on track due to Barrichello able to get into that first place. And I mean, Julian, definitely I have a feeling that we're going to see exactly what happened in heat number 1. But we'll have to see if he's able to get the hat trick out here. Again, hat trick being fastest in qualifying, winning the heats, as well as getting fastest lap. So I know he has it possible. Last time around, the first time that we got to see him out here for AMX ZERO, he was very close, but just almost couldn't get it, like right at the very end. Heat number 2, unfortunately, wasn't his best race. Like I said, out here in AMX ZERO, definitely a lot of this stuff is up to skill, but there is a bit of luck, as we can see from some of these guys that get involved in some of these incidents early on. Sometimes you're just a passenger. Oh, here's Pechenev going extremely wide, completely off the track, starting a bit of a lawn mowing service out there, but back on track. So we'll have to see. Might have gotten a little bit of a slowdown from that, but luckily there's a 21-second gap behind him, so he has no pressure, just needs to shake it off and focus on running back down Pereira.
Super aggressive on throttle there. I mean, he was getting into that super. I mean, forget slow and fast out. That was fast in, fast out. I mean, if he wouldn't have gone in the gravel, we would have gotten a monster exit, but now he's picked up the slipstream on Pereira. And like we said, slipstream is OP. He's going for the outside into turn 1. Good luck that he's actually going to try, and I think he has held it. Great respect between the 2 drivers so far. Someone's gone off, might get in the way. No, they managed to keep it going. Who was that? That was Lorente there, off into the gravel. I'm not sure if he tangled with P2, the Palomero, but it seems like Spectrum, he has got the move. He's got the inside. Can Pereira hold it on the outside? No, as you just get a bit more banking on the inside at the apex.
So here we can see, and now seeing chat too, just saying, you know, every time Duda gets in front, no one's able to catch him. One person that I'm surprised we're not actually seeing out here in AMX ZERO, but of course I'm sure he's out there practicing for our second race of the day. That'd be Gael Valero. So Gael Valero still the overall points leader currently. As well as Bruno De Carmo leading the AMX ZERO class, but I think Barrichello might just be taking that spot away from him before the end of the season. So like I said, he only came in a couple of weeks ago, but he's been putting on a show. Like I said, a lot of that real life driving definitely translating, as well as his time in the sim. So Duda Barrichello now 6.5 seconds up here. The battle's still going on. Spechenov, Pereira still trying to fight it, hold on for that 4th place position, but it looks like Spechenov is just slightly getting a bit of an advantage. There, of course, we can see there in the driver cams as well. It's just crazy to see how some of these guys on controllers, I've seen it in other races too as well, seen some of these Assetto Corsa Competizione competitions where these guys a little bit more used to that. There's a little bit more, especially with the introduction of some guys on console having that back and forth. Some of these guys running Gran Turismo 7 out here. So definitely great to see out here. But there we see your leader, Duda Barrichello. Now he was able to start on the back of the grid, make his way all the way up. Of course, that big lap 1 incident, I'm sure it helped him tremendously. So we're going to have to see, again, if we get a full screen replay of exactly what happened earlier on. We can go in now on the replay. Right there we have, it looks like the number 10 going in of Gaston Culavi, and oh, right there, so the number 11 is getting spun out, and it was just a domino effect from there on. So Evandro Dantas leading the pack, spinning out everyone else, just going off, going into the air again. So all heat, well, not all heat long, all day long, man, these cars have just absolutely been flying. We only have one out there in the Red Bull livery, but looks like all these guys are getting their wings today, getting their pilot's license after this one, Julian.
I mean, it was ping pong at the end of it, just cars getting launched into the other, and I think the track needs a rename from Circuit de Ledenon to Airport de Ledenon. I think that would be a bit more fitting, especially here tonight. But Duda Barrichello, look at that, 9.6 second lead. It was 18 seconds heat after heat 1, and he got into the lead a whole lot later than he did this time round. So I mean, surely he's gonna have a 20-second lead, something like that. But Lorente is lining up Palermo here in P2 then, as Lorente, he's kept it very clean. I think he got caught up in a incident in heat 1, but I mean, it's what we've been saying: keep it clean, don't get involved in incidents that send you into the air and send you out of the stratosphere and to Jupiter and back. But he's done just that. Then he's having a look, and he has gone for it down the inside, maybe a bit too late. No, he's managed to slow the car down, then going a bit wide as well there. Palermo needs to now look behind him as Petronev is looking to get involved, but he's just got out in front of him, and he needs to now look in his rearview mirrors as he's looking ever closely like he's going to lose that P3.
So there we go. Now Llorente able to get it up into second place. Palermo still doing a pretty good job. So it looks like on here both of these guys, both Palermo and Barrichello with the P1 speed livery. So I definitely can say it's safe to say they are teammates. So they're looking to get that 1-2 for their team out here. Of course, Palermo now down one position, was starting towards the front of the grid on heat number 2 as well as heat number 1. So again, didn't quite have the fastest pace, but it's not just all about pace out here. You have to be able to race smart and be able to race clean. He's been doing a good job of that so far all day long. So a lot of this, again, comes down not as much to strategy in here, but just being smart on the track. So Palermo now still holding on to the third place position. However, these guys are going to be running into back markers, as we can see right there. Ooh, a little bit of tire smoke up from Llorente there in the front. But like I was mentioning, these guys, just from racing some of these on the official just iRacing servers, just some of the weekly races, I can tell you, this is one of those cars you absolutely have to be a lot smarter than you have to be quick. You want to be both, but if you only had to choose one, I'd say you have to drive smart, because it's definitely one of those that, you know, if there's going to be an incident, usually it's not going to be a good incident. Usually you're be lucky if you're walking away. And oh, with the squeeze right there from Bruno De Carmo and the number 22 of Encina. So Encina's right now a back marker to Bruno De Carmo. So not sure. Like I said, I've seen some of these drivers. Usually you want to be a little bit more courteous, but technically you don't really have to get out of their way right here. You do get a blue flag just letting you know, hey, you got a faster driver coming up that is a lap up on you. Usually the good thing is to try and get away, but everyone out here, whether you're a lap down or on the lead lap, you're still trying to fight for a position, trying to hold on to your position, trying not to get a line. And oh, Bruno De Carmo let him know, a little bit of a bump there, saying, hey man, you're in my way. So we'll have to see with that, as I'm sure he's not going to be too happy about that one.
Just gave him a bit of a friendly bump there, like saying, hey mate, you got blue flags, let me by. Yeah, that's the risky part. I mean, these drivers can get impatient when they're stuck behind a lap car, and then stuff like that happens where they brake a bit too late, they get frustrated, and that's happened. But now Bruno De Carmo, I mean, he lost quite a bit of time to Frazier just ahead of him, as now the lap car is back right behind him. Due to Barrichello, who still leads away lap 7 out of 14 then, and he's just, I mean, he's in a Saturday drive right now, chilling. I mean, he might even stop at McDonald's and get a Big Mac and Coke menu and eat it in the cockpit. That's how far ahead he is right now.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we know that Barrichello is a fast driver, but I'd love to see exactly where it comes down to whenever in terms of strategy. So that's why I said I'd love to see him in some of these other races, especially AMX 5 or AMX 15. I know he has the iRating to do it. We might have to just see. Like I said, we're about halfway through the season, so there's still plenty of time for him to get in here, shake things up just a little bit, as well as see what other pro drivers that may be stopping in from time to time. So right now, just looking at the camera a little bit, saying, yeah, you know what, I'm just going for a nice little cruise out here. So again, getting in a little bit of practice, but now side by side, we're catching back up. Roberto Frizer and Pereira. Now, an excellent job there, Frizer, Pereira back and forth. It seems like these two have been battling out quite a lot today, Julian.
Yeah, they might have a string or a string attached to each other where they just like to race together. I mean, they race fair and hard. Their cars have been glued together, both virtually and physically. Right now, a bit too far back though. Pereira dropped off a bit there. 2 seconds, must have made a mistake, as he's getting put under pressure from a lap car that is, I think this is Encinas, it might be, who's trying to go around the outside of turn 1 then. So that's Bruder Carmo getting past him. I was completely screwed up there on the line. A spinner in the background getting caught up, and that's what we're talking about there. If you're so close together, you just can't react in cars that just don't want to react to whatever you do. And speaking of wanting to have Barrichello in a longer race, we might have to chime in Kevin and just pay his entry fee for him for one of these AMX 15 races that are on Sundays.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of AMX 15, tomorrow we're going to be taking on the mountain out at Mount Panorama in Bathurst. So I know last weekend we had the iRacing Bathurst 1000. I got to participate in that. Great fun. That really is a race of attrition, just a race to really survive for most people. So absolutely love that track, especially in the V8 supercars. One of, if not the most famous Australian race that there is. So we'll have to see who shows up for that one tomorrow. I already have a good idea from previous AMX races when we've hit Mount Panorama, who shows up, as well as a couple Australian drivers that we have from time to time. Hopefully they'll be able to make it. I know out there in Australia, it's going to be in the early AM of Monday morning by the time we have the green flag. So we'll see who ends up showing out on there. Some of the guys, especially watching it out there, we got the iRacing last weekend and the Bathurst 1000 in real life going on this weekend. So I might try to catch that and try not to be too sleepy for tomorrow. Run on a lot of energy drinks, but we'll have to wait and see for that. As well as I know a lot of people coming out here getting ready for the Petit Le Mans next weekend in iRacing, which is going on currently this weekend in real life as well. So tons of great races going on this time of the year, as well as I know a lot of guys that hop in from time to time on Sundays races that are competing in other esports and iRacing as well. So tons of events all around, but still the action has been high out here in AMX ZERO all day. I mean, there's pretty much all season AMX ZERO. It's never been a bad race, but here, Pereira holding off in the pits. We have to see what happened there.
I did see a car off the track, but it seemed like he just went straight on there and could have made it back. I'm not too sure. I mean, that's the second time we've had a car just disappear into the pit lane or just DNF for some reason, as this might be what happened to Pereira right here. Then maybe, yep, so his spin, then too much damage to continue on, and he had to reset to the pit lane. Probably that rear left that got struck by Miguel Araujo has managed to get off the track and out of the way of his competitors there. But yeah, it's great to see all these races. I mean, esports races have gone so far. I mean, if you just compare 10 years ago, all of this, I mean, I wasn't in the mix back then, but I doubt that there was that much going on in tandem with real life racing, like you said, with the real life Bathurst 1000, and now we're doing it in less than 24 hours as well, not the full 1000, just 1.5 hours, I believe it is. But still great to see so much going on for these drivers to compete in.
Yeah, so we'll be doing, like you said, not quite as long as the normal Bathurst 1000. It's going to be about 25% of it, so, you know, roughly about the Bathurst 250, if you want to call it that. Usually the race takes just under 6 hours, roughly around 6 hours is kind of what we've seen out in iRacing. So going for an hour and a half, like I said, that's, yeah, essentially 25% of the Bathurst 1000. I know a lot of these guys, seeing what they're doing out there, not even really, I think, well, we call it a mini endurance race, but realistically, a lot of these guys, depending on what the race is, what the strategy is, may not be quite used to that full 90 minutes. I know a lot of guys, depending on the strategy, usually will go in for their first stint in some of these races, be about an hour stint, then they swap drivers. Of course, we've seen some of these guys out at the Bathurst 1000 last weekend watching their strategies. A lot of them go in at about 25 laps roughly. So I guess still roughly about an hour or close to an hour going in, swapping drivers, coming back out. But like I said, whenever you know that you have a lot to drive, it's definitely going to make it interesting. We have some of these other endurance races in iRacing as well, some shorter ones, 6 hours, 3 hours. So a lot of these guys, especially in the V8 supercars, are going to have their work cut out for them. That's one of those cars that you have to do a lot of work, just a lot of steering input, be on focus. If not, as we can see, even in the Bathurst 1000 qualifying in real life, how easy it is to crash on the mountain. But back to what's going on out here. AMX ZERO, we are currently lap number 11 of 14 out here in heat number 2. Bruno De Carmo holding off about 2 seconds behind 4th place of Roberto Frizer. So Frizer doing a great job. Like I mentioned, he's come in this season, really starting to make his name known, getting a pretty good pace out there, getting some pretty good finishes. Still looking, he wants to get that top spot. But hey, I think really in these cars, a lot of it comes down to if you're going to be an aggressive and competitive driver, really a lot of the times it's you end up in the top 5 or you end up in the wall. I've seen that time and time again in these vehicles, and that's showing again out here today.
Yeah, and Frizero, he was one of the ones being caught up in that lap 1 massive incident. And considering he's in P4 right now, that's not half bad. I mean, if you're pointing the wrong direction at lap 1 with a bunch of other cars just getting past you and just playing bowling with you or playing kick him while he's down, not half bad. And Gaston Calavi, I mean, he's pretty much in no man's land. There's no one in front of him, at least no one he's racing. Then behind him, 4 seconds to Evandro Dantes, who's made a couple of mistakes as well. So it's certainly even the best of the best being caught out by this current track. I mean, we've talked about it, the elevation, especially on the way down with the suspension compressing, so easy to spin. I mean, you'd be lying if you say it didn't happen to you. And Barrichello, I mean, he's really put in the work. Look at that, 22 seconds, and he's still got 3 laps to try and build that out even further.
And I'll just taking a look at some of the entries we got going on for AMX 5 right after this race. So quite a few guys that, like I said, aren't here in this session for AMX ZERO, already putting down some practice out there for AMX 5. So AMX 5 coming up next, we are taking it to Long Beach out there in the GT4 cars. A little bit interesting. A lot of times when people think of the Long Beach circuit, they think of IMSA, they think of hypercars, GT3s, as well as they think of IndyCar or even Formula Drift. So getting to watch the GT4s out on Long Beach should be a pretty interesting race, especially when it comes to that final hairpin. That's probably one of the most famous parts, as well as going around the fountain. So those 2 places going to be really tight for these drivers. Again, I love any race at Long Beach. I mean, there's always a bit of drama going on there, always great racing no matter the vehicle. So I think this might be the first time I actually see GT4s around Long Beach in iRacing. So definitely don't go anywhere after this race, folks. That is going to be one for the books.
Yeah, I mean, you got a classic track like Long Beach. You've got a car, a GT4, which by itself a great car, but it's never really paired with Long Beach, like you said, usually GT3 and IMSA. And then you've also got the strategy with the AMX 5 with the mandatory pit stop heat and heat on. So it's got the recipe of a bloody good race, doesn't it, Kevin?
Absolutely, especially now with the introduction. We'll have to see how many drivers, or if any of the drivers, are going to be running the new BMW M4 GT4. So that was just recently added to iRacing. Well, I'm thinking a lot of the guys out here, just the speed of the track, we'll have to see how many. Again, it being a street course, not really having to worry about the elevation. If these guys are going to pick ones that have a little bit more stability, a little bit more better on the top speed, we'll have to just wait and see for that. But right now, white flag is out. Duda Barrichello now leading over 25 seconds, so he has an even better lead than he had in heat number 1, as well as right now still setting the fastest lap, now getting 125.934 for Duda Barrichello. That's faster than he's been all day, so that has been his fastest lap. This man's only getting faster and faster as we come out here on track, so able to get under the 126s out here in these cars, just absolutely blazing. Love to see it going on, especially out here in the fixed setup. Like I said, I'm sure you can always squeeze out a little bit more time from some of these top drivers whenever you have an open setup. So it's going to be great to see out here again. Duda Barrichello, we'd love to see him come into some of the other races. We'll have to just wait and see, as now he's coming across the home stretch. Duda Barrichello now coming across the Triple Crown of AMX, winning 3 in a row from qualifying to heat 1 to heat 2, as well, setting the fastest lap all day long. He has been an absolute monster out here on track. Duda Barrichello really just showing he is here to stay and he is here to win.
It's not over yet though. Frizer down the inside then of Palermo there at the very last lap there. Can Palermo get back through then? Well, I think he's just a bit too far back, but what a late move for Frizer to get on the podium.
Yeah, just like that. So we got to see Frizer. Like I said, again, another driver that's been coming out this season, really trying to make his name known, and I would not doubt it if we see him moving forward. Again, we've seen him in other classes as well, still putting out great pace. Here we have Bruno Di Carmo. A lot of these drivers now that, unfortunately, some of them retiring early. We have Evandro Dantas, Gaston Kulavi there. In the pit lane, Bruno Di Carmo, we have Pereira, Encinas, Araujo, Petrunev. Pereira kind of pulled out to the side of the road as well. So a lot of incidents going on into this one. I think that is, again, the love and hate of open wheel racing. It's going to be close. It's going to be a lot of fast laps set. These guys pushing it to the limit. But if you're not keeping it super clean, we have what we got to see on lap 1. Unfortunate incident for them, but not unfortunate. Like I said, our Ben Q session winner coming out here, Dudu Barrichello, putting it down once again in heat number 2, setting the fastest lap. Man, this man is making it look too easy out here in AMX ZERO. We might have to get some of these guys, either put him up a class or get some of these guys that compete in the other classes also compete out here, like I said. But in second place, we have Ruben Llorente Jr., and third place, Roberto Frizer, able to squeeze it in on the last lap. Gustavo Palermo in fourth place. Bruno Di Carmo in fifth. Evandro Dantas, sixth place. Gaston Kulabi in seventh. David Pereira, 8th place. Hero Encinas, 9th. Miguel Araujo, 10th place. 11th, we got Felipe Petrunev. And 12th, unfortunately, did not start. We have Felipe Barrichello Bartz out there as well. So, Julian, yet another great day of AMX ZERO. I mean, I hope we get to see this all season long. I mean, I have no doubt we will. But, man, what a race it was.
Absolutely, and it's kept it up with what AMX ZERO has been showing us throughout the season. Great racing, chaos, sometimes a bit too much chaos. I mean, we said the intensity would go up going into Heat 2, but I think the entire intensity was lost right at the start there with that massive crash. I mean, when it's a one-on-one crashes, it's alright, but when 5-6 cars get involved, that's where it just becomes a bit not embarrassing, but a bit annoying that so many cars pretty much have to grid out of the contention. And just, I mean, Gaston Kulavi, I think he was 60 seconds off the car in front at one point, and you don't like to see that. You want close action from the start to the end.
So another AMX ZERO race in the bags. Felipe didn't make it on there. Dudu Barrichello, however, showing down what he can do once again in AMX ZERO. Next weekend, we will not have AMX ZERO, but make sure, like I said, don't go anywhere. For right now, we will be back in a few minutes out here with AMX 5, where once again, we're going to be heading it over to Long Beach in the GT4s. Already seen quite a few quick drivers out there putting in practice. In the meantime, make sure to check out all of our social medias while you're waiting on the break. But we will see you all here in a few minutes. Max Verstappen back into first place. They want to make that move, but here goes Gustavo Ariel diving to the inside. Gael Valero looking for the move over Archie Neumann. He has it.
And you can just see Peter Zuba pushing Florian Labigra right over.
Oh, Chris London, he does make that pass.
Gael Valero doing his best on the outside, gets sideways, and no, the teammates crash. We had the number 11 going right there. 3 wide out there in the middle of the field through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shots of the entire season.
Towards the Nicky Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash.
2 wide now, door to door. Max Verstappen to Dantas. Max Verstappen able to safely rejoin, slots it right in front of another car.
Carousel immediately, he gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone off. He's been tapped and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin. Oh no.
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris London does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right-hander. This is it. Chris London seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris London takes it. Miranda, Peter Zuba into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers coming up to the cutting.
David Todd making his way back up, has already climbed 7 positions.
Oh, I spoke too soon there. Sende goes up.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Toth passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to lead? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Toth right now going into the pit lane.
We go racing for heat number 1 here in Austria. Over AMX 20 in towards the Mickey Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash. That's a huge lunge from Gaston Calabi, and he's made contact with, I believe, oh wow, it's a chaotic moment here. And slipstream in front for either car, and you could just see Methuselah pushing Florian Lavigra right over.
Here we go then. Valeri, he looks left, he looks right. He's going to choose the right hand side, which is the inside going into turn 3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. It's looking like it's only going one way. David Todt is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Todt has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
What started nearly 50 years ago as America's premier street race has turned into one of the most iconic tracks in the entire world. That's right, folks, we're heading it out to Long Beach Raceway out here, a street circuit known for some of the most beautiful scenery, really capturing the essence of Long Beach. Everyone, welcome back to Season 6. We are out here for AMX 5 in the GT4 cars. I'm Kevin, and alongside me we have Julian today. Julian, we got to see a great AMX ZERO race earlier on at Ledenon, and now we're heading back over to the Grand Prix of Long Beach. I mean, if you could describe what happened in AMX ZERO in less than 3 words, what would you say it was?
I'm gonna do it in one word. Chaos or chaotic. You could pick any of those two. I mean, especially Heat 2, which is usually how it goes, but that was, I mean, I was expecting it to be pretty chaotic, but then, I mean, I was blown out the park by how much chaos can happen with the Formula race around Ledenon, and now we get to do it in AMX 5 around Long Beach, which, as you said, such a historical track.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I mentioned earlier on, we are usually used to Indy cars racing out here or the IMSA races, so seeing the GT4s is going to be a bit of a unique combination, but nonetheless, everyone out there, make sure to follow on Twitch and YouTube as well as all of our social medias out there, and head over to the race. But speaking of the race, before we head in and see where our drivers are doing, we have a few things to go over. We're just over halfway through the season. We've been out here since September 7th, going all the way until November 17th. This season's prize pool of $11,000 plus next level racing gear. And for our AMX 5 races, it goes as followed. We have our 20-minute qualifying, followed by a top 15 reverse grid, going into heat number 1 of 35 minutes, where our drivers have 1 mandatory pit stop. After that, we got another top 15 reverse grid going into that final heat number 2 of 25 minutes. So heat number 1, a little bit longer races, a little bit higher prizes. For all of our drivers out there, driver cams are required. We want to see your beautiful mugs out there. You can get the link via our AMX Discord or on the website. And payouts are done in balances over $100, paid out every single month. Race days are every Saturday and Sunday, so we're here every single weekend. We got an off weekend coming up next weekend, but we're going to be coming back strong after that. And if you want to get signed up to race, you can head over to amxrace.com. Get signed up at any time. We'd love to have you out here on track. And like I mentioned, every single Saturday and Sunday, Saturdays kicking it off with AMX ZERO at 5:50 p.m. GMT, followed by AMX 5 at 7:10 p.m. On Sundays, we got our AMX 10 doubleheaders this season at 5:50 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. And on every other week, including this weekend, we got AMX 15, our mini enduro races starting at 5:50 p.m. Tomorrow's going to be a good one. You're definitely going to have to come out for that. And our prize pools for AMX 5, a little bit different this season for quali, and we got our $12.50 going for first place, $10 going to second, $7.50 for third, going all the way down, prizes all the way until 15th place. Then we hit that top 15 reverse grid. Heat number 1's a little bit longer. We have double the points, so $25 to first place, $20 to second, $15 to third, and so on all the way down to 15th, as well as heat number 2, back to a bit shorter of a race, and the points are going to be the same as quali. $12.50 for first, $10 for second, $7.50 for third, but fastest lap in either heat 1 or 2 will get an extra couple of dollars added on, coming to a total prize pool per race of $250. If you want to get out in these races, there is a minimum iRating of 2,000. So if you think you want to win some of this prize money, you got the iRating. We'd be more than lucky to have you out here with us on track. And now look at our top 10 so far for the AMX 5. We're going to start it off in 10th place. We got Juan Blainot. In 9th place, David Toth. 8th, Evandro Dantas. 7th place, Victor Miranda. 6th, Simone Demori. 5th place, Jackson Azenje. 4th place, Ralph Benitez. And your top 3, we got Bruno De Carmo in 3rd with 74.5 points. Pedro Dean in 2nd with 133.5 points. And your current leader and defending champion, Gael Valero, with a blazing 211.5 points. So Gael Valero starting to get a bit of a lead in this championship. Will he make it 3 championships in a row? We know he has the pace, but Pedro Dean also is looking to make it happen for himself as well. So, like we say, anything can happen out here at AMX. We'll have to keep an eye on where our championship stands, but that's how it stands right now, roughly halfway through the season. But like we said, Julian, a great track with some great cars out here. I know last season we showed a lot of love to the GT4s and we had some of the best racing. We don't see Long Beach quite as much in AMX either, so definitely going to be shaking it up a bit out here today.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And as you said, in the historic Long Beach in the USA, first opened in 1975, so the 50th anniversary of this track is coming up, and it's just over 3.1 kilometers with not a whole lot of elevation change, of course, with it being a street track. I have seen chat, you guys want to see the new BMW M4. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but only one driver is repping it, but it is the standard GT4s then, with 350 to 500 horsepower, so we might be able to see Long Beach is a track which requires quite a bit of power down the long straight, so it's gonna be needed, and that power is put into the rear wheels, and the weight is 1,300 to 1,400 kilograms, and as a gearbox we're using the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel in a sequential gearbox.
And I think it's about time we check in on our drivers. Looking out there, it is a pretty clear day so far today. It's about 28 degrees Celsius out there, so a beautiful California sunny day for these drivers. Definitely going to be a good one, especially like we said, going into heat number one. Keep in mind it is double the points for heat number one than it is in heat number two. A little bit longer of a race, as well as them having to hit the pits at some point. So definitely strategy for heat number one is typically what it comes down to. But look at this, just a beautiful track, one of the most famous in the US, especially now as we come around the fountain. And definitely now, let's see, as we're still riding on board currently, Evandro Dantas, kind of towards the back of the pack. Like I said, these guys used to this track, a lot of them on some higher horsepower, higher downforce. Of course, we got IMSA that runs out here, both in real life and on iRacing, as well as Indy cars. So a great time for these guys. GT4 cars, not quite as much downforce on them. They have to rely a little bit more on that mechanical grip. So definitely going to be interesting, especially once we come up to the very last corner on that famous hairpin, or as some people may say it, as the infamous hairpin out here at Long Beach. Really a lot of places that we can see some dives happening in, but also we see a lot of crashes on that hairpin, as well as here going onto the straight. Definitely one thing that I know Long Beach Circuit for mostly is Formula Drift. So this is the section of the track where these drivers out here drifting the car, putting it sideways. No Formula Drift out here today, but still these guys, you can see now Evandro Dantas coming around onto the home straight. This one is definitely a little bit of technical corners followed by some really fast straights. As he comes across, will he be able to improve his lap time? He does, able to slot it up to 9th place.
Well, and just looking at these hot laps, another thing I absolutely love about street tracks, you just have the sense, I mean, you got barriers on the left, barriers on the right. At some spots, like here, you can barely go too wide because the barrier just meets you and says, hello, good evening, how are you doing? And then as well through the roundabout around the fountain, that's surely interesting, as there you go, Gael Valero just tags his rear end there. And remember 2 weeks ago or so in the AMX5, him and Pedro Dean both spinning while they were leading and P2 around the Nürburgring. So certainly mistakes can happen like this, but like I said, I mean, barriers on both sides, you just got that sense like there's no escape. You got to finish this race without making any mistake.
Yeah, and especially out here, being one of these street courses with all of the concrete barriers on the sides, there's really not any runoff through many of these corners, so these drivers have to be super careful. Like we see there, Gael Valero just tapping the wall. But again, it's very similar to what's going on this weekend at Bathurst 1000. It can be a very rewarding course, but also some of the more technical sections, you have to really just be inches away from some of these walls if you really want to use every bit of this course out here. And really, that's going to be the difference between these guys being towards the front of the pack and being towards the back. So we see again a good mixture of Mercedes, the AMG GT4s out here, as well as the Aston Martin. So again, a bit favoring some of the cars that have a little bit better on the straights. So you kind of have to dial it in. Where am I going to be able to make up most of that time? And out here it seems right now towards the front, these guys very comfortable in the front engine vehicles. A couple McLarens out there today, and like you mentioned, Julian, just the one lone BMW is Juan Blenat, who's currently the fastest. Again, just barely tapping in that wall, so that shows just that lack of downforce that these cars have is going to make it very difficult to get the most. But still, so far, Juan Blenat in first place, Pedrodin in second, Gael Bolero in third.
Yeah, but it's super close, isn't it? Look at that, just a bit more than 1/10 separating the top four then. And imagine what this track's like with high fuel, and these guys already grazing the barriers. They're on their hot lap where they've got a whole lot less fuel. That we're just over halfway through this qualifying session, and it's all to play for. I mean, I would say anyone within the top 6 has a good chance of getting pole position, but then you got to remember that reverse grid, since we have less than 15 drivers, everyone's going to be affected by that, so that's going to come into play, make it real interesting, as there are certain spots you can overtake, like turn 2 heavy braking zone, but then there's right here turns 3 and 4 there, the fountain, where you just got to stick on. I mean, if you try to go side by side through there, you will meet the barrier very quickly, and that'll be your race ruined.
And right there, as we see that last turn that Juan Blenat went over with the curbing, you have to get that just absolutely precise. That way you don't get rocked by the curbing too much. I mean, these cars out in the GT4s can take some curbing a little bit more than some other vehicles. Let's say like if we were out here in something like IndyCar or even the GTP. So just like that, but we can hear a lot of scraping going on. So these guys really using up every bit of the track, maybe a bit too much, but that's what's going to be happening. As long as you don't have really any aero damage to slow you down, they're pretty much going to have to be on the edge of the wall. So although Juan Blenat out here, a little bit of scraping, it's not going to be too much, you know. Maybe going to knock off a mirror here or there during the race, but we'll have to wait and see. As a beautiful exit out of the hairpin now onto the straight. Will he be able to improve his lap time? He's still currently sitting in first place position as now he comes across the start-finish line, but it looks like no. Yeah, 123.963. So time screen didn't update quite as quick, but now Juan Blenat, the first man to go under 1 minute 24 out here today.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if more drivers in the sub 124s. I mean, this could be one of them. Tobias Soriano, never forget about him. On his day, he is proper fast then. And you can just see, I mean, for a second there, I thought he was abandoning his lap, but just going for maximum exit there, going for a really late apex, so you can just go on the throttle as soon as humanly possible. Then he's in P4 right now, not bad, in the McLaren as well. So love to see a good mix of cars, like you said, mostly Mercedes, a couple of McLarens, some Aston Martins as well then. And I mean, I think this can be a great race. I mean, I say it every time, but if you think about it, you got GT4s around a track where usually you have IMSAs, like you said, sometimes cars like GT3s you would expect, but GT4s, I mean, for me, GT4 is like the brother you forget about in the motor racing world. You got your formulas, you got your GT3s, you got your LMP1s, but then these are lost gems. I mean, I prefer it more than GT3, to be honest, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a slightly different mindset to be driving a GT4 versus a GT3. I mean, usually, like we said, GT3 is usually the bread and butter of a lot of drivers in terms of GT cars, but definitely GT4s, I think it's kind of, you know, something similar of, I'd say, that next progression of something very slow of like a MX-5 Cup car. And now to say Martin Chico able to get up in that second place position. So definitely we're going to have to keep an eye out for him during the races. But back to what I was saying, yeah, with the GT4s, like I said, you really have to go in there almost the same mindset as if you're going in with something a little bit slower like an MX-5 Cup car, especially if you're used to the faster cars of the GT3s, the GTPs. Again, those ones obviously drive a lot different, but out here right now have about 5 minutes left, just over 5 minutes in this qualifying session. Grid position is a little bit more important, I'd say, here than some of the other tracks. It can be a little bit harder to pass in these cars, just not really having that blazing speed, so you're really going to have to get extremely good exits out of some of these tighter corners. I think that's where it's going to really be. Going onto the long straights, if these guys are able to get a better exit than the guy in front of them, that's where we're probably going to see a lot of overtaking moves happen. Like I said, a lot of these guys, not too many places here you want to be going too wide. It's also one of those tracks that can get a little bit dangerous, especially these tight hairpin corners like we see right now. I expect, just given the track record of AMX, I know we are going to have a few incidents on some of those extremely tight corners. It's just going to be a matter of when and who.
Yeah, and I think it's either at the start of the race where everyone's packed up, and in that case quite a few drivers will get caught up, as it's just going to be a blockade through like a section like here, super tight. I mean, if a car is perpendicular with the track there's no getting past it until he reverses out. And or it could be at the end of the race when everyone's starting to lose their focus or starting to push super hard to get within that 5/10 to where you can make a move for P3 and P4. When you start to get desperate, we've seen that before. I think that's the big point where you can lose time or spin, which is why I think today, especially in Heat 1, we will see more early pit stop runners to get out of that traffic, so you avoid running in trains and getting stuck in the Constantina effect, so you can just do your own race with clean air, no one around you, and you can just focus on yourself.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at all of our drivers that are out there in qualifying right now. So there's a few that we got to see earlier on in the AMX ZERO race. One of those, Roberto Frizer, who has, like I said, been kind of showing what he can do out here. Of course, coming out with some of the crazy liveries, definitely standing out from the crowd. Beautiful right there. We got to see him early on. Had the Red Bull KTM livery, of course, the factory team for KTM out there in MotoGP. But as well, we got to see a few guys that didn't. One of those, Duda Barrichello, who earlier on for AMX ZERO ended up taking it home, getting the hat trick out here. So winning it from qualifying all the way through heats 1 and 2 and just setting fast lap after fast lap, just absolutely blazing. We mentioned we love to be able to see him, what he could do out here in AMX 5 and some of the higher classes. So we might have to see, like I said, exactly what has left for the rest of the season. Another person that we also seen earlier, Bruno De Carmo now, he tends to favor a little bit more some of these higher downforce vehicles. So right now he's sitting in 12th place in qualifying, but he also had a pretty good time, pretty good lap, pretty good pace out in AMX ZERO in the Formula Fords. So again, a few of these guys out here from earlier, a few of these guys decided to skip AMX ZERO, put in the practice out here, and it's showing. The likes of Juan Blinat, Toby Soriano, and Gael Valero still your top three. But there's just over 2 minutes left in this qualifying session. We know Gael Valero, he'll be happy to be within a top three qualifying position, but definitely looking to make that. And now, taking it really wide, like I said, this might be his final lap to try and get into that top spot.
Yeah, like we said, going for that super late apex so you can just accelerate out as hard as possible. And I mean, like you've said, we've got people who just did AMX ZERO, and for me, I just don't understand how they can go from something like the Formula Ray to a GT4 around a track that first, super crazy elevation change, super wide, all of this space, all of this runoff, to GT4's closed cockpit, or closed wheel, sorry, around a track that's barely any elevation change, but it's closed off with zero margin for error. I mean, for me, it would take a solid like 30 minutes just to get used to and get in the rhythm of it. But these guys, I mean, they could do it like a light switch, on and off, from Formula to GT4 to probably Rally as well, if they wanted to.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've seen some of these guys out here. Shout out to the Start Racing team. Those guys definitely getting caught up in some of the rally races out there. I know we've had some people out here asking a bit, hey, will AMX ever have Rallycross? And all I got to say is, I don't know, man. If there's enough people, enough interest, I'm sure we'd be able to find a way. With some of the current formats, you know, Rallycross racing being a bit of heat racing, we definitely have to change a lot if we did that. But nonetheless, hey, nothing is impossible and anything can happen at any time. That's all I'll say about that. But right now, still, these drivers coming to a closeout here. Under 30 seconds left in the qualifying. A lot of these guys coming across the checkered flag, trying to just get it in. Juan Blenat still sitting atop. We only have 2 drivers out here so far. Martin Chico, will he be able to get back up into that top 3 as he crosses? He will unfortunately not. So a lot of these drivers sitting roughly around that 1 minute 24 mark. That seems to be the pace out here today, Julian.
Yep, and the real question is, what's the pace going to be like in the race with more tire wear at the end and more fuel, and with the pit stop as well? I mean, like we said, it's going to be interesting. So many factors that just don't apply to qualifying.
Well, there you have it, folks. Your BenQ session winner, Juan Blenat, able to get that top spot out here in the GT4s at Long Beach. Coming in second place, we got Toby Soriano. Third, Gael Bolero. Fourth, Martin Chico. Fifth, Pedro Dean. In sixth place, Ruben Llorente Jr. In seventh, we have Roberto Frizer. Coming in eighth place, we have Mauricio Lozano. Ninth place, Gaston Kulabi. 10th, Felipe Petronev. In 11th place, we have Evandro Dantas. 12th, Bruno De Carmo. And rounding it out, in 13th place, we got Diego Villarreal. So Villarreal now going to be starting it out on pole position for heat number 1. We've seen him again, like I said, one of those drivers that we got to keep our eyes on. It just is consistently just getting better and better. Like I said, a lot of these, it's really hard to go from one car into another, trying to be as versatile as you can. Well, that's the beauty of AMX. We love to see what these drivers can do in any vehicle that we throw them into. And so far, some of them have shined in some as maybe not as good as the others, but definitely improving week in and week out. So here we go as we are moments away from the green flag out at Long Beach.
And another factor we completely forgot to mention, rolling start, in which going on to the long main straight, I mean, we can already see some moves going into the first braking zone with the slipstream and all that, and good amount of cars as well, so there will be weaving. Everyone's going to try and find some space there to sneak into, maybe go for a move up the inside and all that. Crucial part is that they're all single file going into the roundabout section.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit hard coming out of turn 11 on the hairpin. But like you said, it's going to be a lot on that straight, the longest part of the track. Going into turn number 1, we have a pretty sharp left-hander. I've got to see, even with some of the best, and in real life, that turn number 1 can really be a real doozy for a lot of these guys. If they try to go too wide into turn number 1, I mean, these cars, I probably wouldn't risk it, but it's going to see really, again, who is going to be brave, or maybe who's going to be a little bit dumb enough to really take that a bit too fast. Again, these guys, they have, you know, not too long of a formation lap, but definitely enough to come out here, get a little bit of heat into the tires. However, we'll have to see how much heat will they be able to put onto it. And for everyone out there watching live, feel free to scan that QR code on the screen popping up, get all of the live timing information that we have up here in the booth, as well as you can see what's going along. It's always great to see, especially when the weather changes, be the first to know, hey, who's on wets, who's on dries, what's the weather doing, what's the track temp, where are these guys faster in what section. So like I said, live timing, a great thing to have out here. I would not be able to do my job without it. But here we go, it's a beautiful shot. The cars now still side by side on their formation lap following that Porsche safety car. But we'll have to see. Diego Villarreal and Bruno De Carmo, both of these guys may just have what it takes. Again, I'm not sure if the Aston Martin might have a little bit of the edge out here starting on this long straight, so we'll have to wait and see. Diego Villarreal going to have to be very defensive on the start.
Well, they're already, never mind, before turn 1 they've come together, and well, seems like it's already some reversing. Then it's now down the straight they go. I would say that was all clean, just some people want to get racing a bit too early. Green flag is out now, and half the grid is racing, the other half is about 500 meters behind, but already side by side, already Bruno De Carmo looking to make the move for P2 there, I think, as the leader has gone then, and yes, they have, and I don't know what happened there at the start, Kevin. I was completely confused, but they are single file throughout the crucial point where they want to be single file.
Yeah, man, I think really what happened is some of these guys that were on the inside line from that final turn before we started really should have taken that hairpin a lot tighter before they took off. And I think they just took a little bit wide and forced those guys on that outside line. They had really nowhere to go. And unfortunately, some of them thought they could make it, and it just a big pile up. So, like I said, that hairpin, very dangerous even before the race even starts. But Diego Villarreal had an amazing start to this race. Like I said, Bruno De Carmo now starting to catch up on that back straight out here. We'll have to see. Like I said, Diego Villarreal, an interesting move in the McLaren. Only one of two drivers out here repping McLaren. So, will that help? It might in some of these more technical turns, but with the straights, it might just be Bruno De Carmo trying to make the move now, just really peaking. I think, again, these guys know, hey, don't push it too hard on lap number one. But just like that, as we come around final, onto the straight, Bruno De Carmo going out. Diego Villarreal hitting the pits right away. So Diego Villarreal, our first on the lead lap, hitting the pits. Some of these guys following suit as well, which I think that's very smart from them. I don't know if, I think just from qualifying, we had Villarreal knowing he might not have the pace, so definitely wants to get in there, try to get out of early of the pits. Bruno De Carmo, though, now 3 seconds over everyone else. Probably going to have to, I expect him to stay out on this stint as long as he can before he goes in and gets maybe a bit of a splash and dash. Like we said, fuel, it's come into a factor on a lot of these AMX 5 races, especially during Heat 1, as well as we've got to see it a lot for the AMX 10. So definitely keep an eye on the fuel out here going on. Bruno De Carmo still leading 3 seconds. Now we have a little bit of a, after that incident before the start of the race, that bunch up in the middle of the pack. Now all these guys starting to find their rhythm, a little bit less chaotic than we expected, but still, nonetheless, as soon as I say that, Evandro Dantas getting spun out.
Yeah, and I think we were racing in the pit lane, just so two cars, two Mercedes going side by side in the pit lane then, which is always interesting to see cars racing with a limiter then. But Bruno De Carmo, I mean, he's in the prime position right now. Just no one in front, no one behind to pressure him. Clean air. Only place where you do lose out is on the straight because you don't have someone to slipstream. Early pit stop. Yeah, as we said, early pit stops might be the way to go just to get out of the chaos. And we already see as I managed to get my words out, we already have seen some chaos before even green flags then. And I think I agree with you. Some people on the inside line not realizing how tight it was. And here's what happened with Evandro Dantas then, which not too long ago, I think he just missed his braking point, yet goes in way too deep and decides to bail down the escape road instead of heading right into the wall. And those are split-second decisions right there, which can make or break your race right there. He's managed to keep himself in the race. He only lost a bit of time rather than his whole front bumper.
And I have some people asking in the chat if that was a bit of a major incident. I mean, it did look like from that very incident, but when the race started, that there was at least one bumper that seemed to be on the track. So, you know, some of these guys, like I said, trying to hit the pits early on, whether they had a little bit of damage going on, sure, try to get that repaired, get a little bit of fuel to make sure that they will end up at least finishing the race. There we see like Roberto Frizer now. Looks like there's a bit of, not sure if a bit of damage there on the hood. Looks like that might have just been the heat extractors from there. As well as, I don't know, maybe a bit questionable livery on some of these, but nonetheless, definitely standing out from the pack. We have out here Roberto Frizer holding on to that third place position so far. So right now, we have about half of the pack, almost half, have since hit the pits. So our top 7 drivers have still all stayed out. Everyone from 8th down into 13th place have hit the pits already.
Yeah, and usually we see a complete opposite strategy. Usually you go lap 1 or you go lap 24. Both of them have pros and cons. I mean, if you pit early, like I've said, you've got that clean air. If you pit late, you've got the clean air before you pit, but then if you make a mistake, you won't be able to close back up and overtake them since you only have 1 lap of racing. So usually we see it either just before or just after the 50% mark, especially with the likes of Bruno De Carmo. Usually pits to undercut someone, but he's got no one to undercut now with him leading, and he's doing very well out there. 3.2 seconds, but he is slowly closing in, I think. Gap was 4 seconds earlier on, must have either made a mistake or Spetronev is real just closing in, but everyone it seems to be rather close. You can see this battle for P3 with Frizer, Lozano, and Soriano. We're looking back at Soriano right now. at one of the two McLaren drivers then, him and Diego Villarreal, who's already done his pit stop then, and you can just see the amount of slipstream and how much time he makes up in the braking zone in that McLaren.
So here we go. Yeah, definitely Mauricio Lozano, Toby Soriano. Toby Soriano doing amazing out in qualifying again, getting second in qualifying just behind Juan Blanat. So he was only 12 thousandths of a second, so about a hundredth of a second out there, super close in qualifying. So we definitely know he has the pace, and now he goes, looks like he's trying to peak for the move, and he does. He will take that inside line, but like we said, out here, probably just a little bit of a smart move there from these guys. Lozano as well, knowing, all right, this guy, I think we might end up in a crash if I fight too hard, especially going into turn number one, how close you can see those guys have to get to that outside wall. Now going into the fountain, again, you want to be in a row. You do not want to be trying to go side by side through the fountain, because that never works out. So these guys just trying to, really pick their battles of see, when do I want to fight? When do I want to give up that space and just try to hang on to the toe? But still, right now, we got Felipe Svetranev in front, followed by Roberto Frizer in second and Toby Soriano in third. We are lap number 5 of 25 out here in heat number 1, where a lot of these guys still trying to get the strategy right when they're going to hit the pits against Svetranev. Now, I thought Bruno De Carmo was going to hang out there until he couldn't anymore, but he decided to hit the pits a little bit early, try to just get that. And like you said, Julian, seems like that might be the strategy out here today. These guys trying to hit the pits early.
Yeah, you avoid the chaos. I mean, Bruno De Carmo, he came into the pits with quite a bit of clean air, and the next car in front of him, Gael Valero, 20 seconds in front, so he must have he knew what he did with that move. Coming out in clean air, might as well get the pit stop out of the way nice and early so you can just focus on the race with no breaks between. But Svetranev, then he's doing good right now by Frizer, like you've said. One of the drivers that can make his way up through the ranks, and we've seen that in AMX ZERO, now also AMX 5. He's closing up to the Mercedes of Svetranev, but Ria Soriano also not too far behind, so it seems like this group of 3 cars then, and if Svetranev and Frizer start fighting, maybe Soriano goes for the undercut there. We've seen it before where you might be quicker but not quick enough to get the overtake done. You just go into the pit lane and hope that clean air does what it's meant to do, give you maximum pace.
Yeah, and I always get a kick out of it there. So the ongoing joke, someone in the Twitch chat just saying, you know what, Bruno's hair is perfect for this track. So I have to agree, just the right amount of aerodynamics out here for Long Beach today. Definitely playing in out on these street courses. Right now here we have Roberto Frizer going for the move over Svetranev. So looks like he had a little bit better of an exit there, and now taking the lead. Oh, and another person, Toby Soriano, making the move as well. So, a bit dangerous place right there, trying to go too wide, but Soriano able to hold it off. Not sure if he had any bit of a slowdown there. He's really rough on those curves, but like I said, just right on the edge, and seeing coming out of the hairpin how close these drivers can get. So now Soriano looking to try and get in the lead, looking to get that clean air. He knows if he's going to be battling it out Roberto Frizer, he may as well just have to hit the pits, because some of these guys, they're seen on there, especially if they have a spotter. Bruno De Carmo, with all that clean air, he's just going to try and get as much pace as he can in. Like we said, in qualifying, a little bit more towards the back of the pack. So we'll have to see where these guys have that split, really. Gael Valero kind of in no man's land by himself, about 2 seconds behind Mauricio Lozano. So again, Gael Valero, I think, might just try and hold on to this, see where he can. Toby Soriano, the same thing. A lot of these guys now with a lot of pace, starting to get bunched up into traffic just a little bit, Julian.
Yes, as Pedro Dean getting past Bruno Carmo, so he's now the lead runner in terms of who's made a pit stop. And yeah, the thing with trends is, as we just saw, is that it can get real close if one person wants to get another person twice, where we saw Tobias Soriano and Frizer getting past Svetranev, and it did get pretty close there in the braking zone, but that McLaren, absolutely no balls of steel, I should say, on the brakes. They're super late, and he managed to get a move, and I won't be surprised if he tries to go for that same move again late on the brakes after the long straight. So he's going to start to line it up now. You see, he went a bit wide there, tries to get on the power earlier, tries to get a good run, gets a pretty good run. He's 6/10 back. He's still got the slipstream. I think he might just be a bit too far behind. He does have a long run, but I'm not sure if this lap he can go for it. Might need to wait one more lap, and you don't lose that much time just staying behind for another lap or two. Then, as you can see, yeah, indeed, he was way too far behind to make a move there.
Yeah, and as we can hear from that onboard, just these guys just barely scraping the walls out here. Some of these places, especially the hairpin, is one of those. It's a really tough and tricky corner to get done, but when you do get it, I mean, it leads up right for a big straight. So I mean, Toby Soriano, what we got to see in qualifying, he's getting as close as he can to the walls, but just sometimes barely scraping it, and that is losing all of his momentum going out onto the straight. So I think if he's able to get that done right on the hairpin, have that perfect exit, that's really when he's going to have to make the move. But like I said, Roberto Friser is still doing an amazing job out here, not really having to take too much of a defensive line out here at Long Beach. A lot of this is really down to the momentum, especially in the GT4. So Roberto Friser, your top 5 drivers still yet to hit the pit stops. Now Gael Valero closed that gap to Mauricio Lozano, so there's going to be a battle going on between them as well. Spetrunev, Lozano, Gael Valero, all of them now battling for third place. Up front, Roberto Friser still trying to hold off Toby Soriano for that first place position. But here goes Soriano, gets a little bit better exit this time, but Friser has a great exit as well. Will he have enough of a slipstream? I'm not sure. He's still just under half a second, 4/10 of a second. I don't think it's going to be enough to try and get on the brakes later. Like I said, that Aston Martin seems to have just a little bit better of that top speed out here on the straights than the McLaren.
Well, the McLaren is closing in. He was 2/10 closer this lap at the exit of the airplane compared to last lap, and through the high-speed section, he was really on him. You can just see it. They're pretty much glued together now. I mean, any mistake for the pair of them, and you lose out. I mean, Soriano, he can make a mistake. He won't lose a place, and he'll just close back up. But if he makes a mistake, just goes a bit too wide, maybe a bit of oversteer on exit, trying to push it too hard, and Soriano's going to get that move. That's why being in second is arguably better, because you can just keep on keeping the pressure going on whoever's in front of you. If you make a mistake, that's all right. You'll catch back up if you're already trying to go for overtake your quicker. Now you really get to see what the slipstream does. And driving with the headlights on, it seems like an interesting tactic. Not sure if it's on purpose to blind your opponent through their rearview mirror or not, but considering stay time, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but maybe some just psychological chess games between the drivers, or I'm just overthinking it.
Yeah, and an interesting thing now, though, like I said, Toby Soriano, he's just looking, being patient, trying to see when he can make the move. But these guys not fighting it off too much has left plenty of gap going on. Again, Gael Valero now trying to hunt down Spetrunev. So we got a couple of Delete Esports guys out here. Again, usually we see with them now side by side, Gael Valero, Spetrunev. Gael Valero going for that move into turn number 1, and he will have it. So right there, just showing Gael Valero being a bit more comfortable out on the track, a little bit better pace. Again, we got to see where these guys stood in qualifying. Gael Valero up towards the top of the pack in the qualifying. Now, in third place, he's already on podium contention. He's just looking to try and get not too worried again out here. Really, turns number 1 is probably going to be the biggest place that you might want to run just a little bit defensive, but you're going to be giving up a lot of speed. So right there, Gael Valero making a beautiful move into turn 1 now, holding on to that third place position. Still about 4 seconds between Gael Valero in third place and Toby Soriano in second. So he has his work cut out for him. Probably now that he has a bit of breathing room, doesn't necessarily want to hit the pits just yet. He might wait to see where these guys go in front of him and try to go for the overcut. But like I said, right now, lap number 10 of 25. It is Roberto Friser still battling off in first place, Toby Soriano in second, and a little bit of a gap between them and Gael Valero in third place.
Well, Soriano, he just can't find a way by right now. It seems like he's starting to push a bit harder and a bit just pushing harder in general. I mean, he might need to go for a pit stop just to get some clean air. Pit stop, I would say, is about 20 seconds. I think it'll come out behind Bruno de Carmo, maybe just in front if he can really go for it. But I Spetrunev into the pit lane then, and we'll see where he comes out. But look at that, they're glued together with a string from rear bumper to front bumper. The McLaren just not finding a way past. I feel like any other track like Monza or Hockenheim, he would manage to get past a more traditional racing track and not a street track. But he's really close now, 2/10, and he's really ducking into the slipstream. But I think, Kevin, his best opportunity now is just go for the undercut.
Yeah, I mean, right here, once he starts knowing that, hey, Gael Valero's behind him, once he starts seeing that gap close more and more. Again, these guys haven't been fighting too much. Toby Soriano's been extremely patient, just trying to see if there's a move. But at the same time, he knows, hey, if he does this, he might just lose the draft that he's had with Roberto Frizera. Is now going for the inside move. Will he be able to make a stick? Oh, a beautiful move right there. So Toby Soriano able to get the pass done now. Roberto Frizera, however, still right on his bumper. Now as they come around, who's going to get the better exit out of the hairpin? This might be what it comes down to. Oh, it looks like Frizera just had to check up a little bit, got a little too close to the rear bumper of Soriano, and that's going to leave him now to go and get a bit of fresh air. So that battling lost them almost about a second. Gael Valero now about 3 seconds. It was 4 seconds earlier between that gap between second and third place. So Gael Valero, luckily, I mean, again, it is going to come down to the pit stops. These guys that pitted earlier now, Pedro Dean still leading the pack of pitters. Yeah, doing a great job so far. Did excellent in qualifying as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on those guys. But still, great battles all throughout. Right now, a little bit more spread apart. Like we said, you have to really be on the rear bumper of the guy in front of you. Again, it's very dangerous from what we had to see at the beginning of the race when you're that close to people, as well as in qualifying, some of these guys just barely scraping the walls. So consistency is definitely key out here at Long Beach.
And right now, Tobias Soriano, he's really shown that he's already got more than a second gap to Frizera in second place. Valero, you could see him in one shot. Now there he is. You can even see P4 Lozano not too far behind. But Pedro Dean, then, as you said, lead pit stop runner, so he overtook Bruno De Carmo not too long ago. So I think he'll have the lead once these guys pit. I mean, Soriano, he's really pressing on now, but he lost at least 7-8 tenths fighting with Frizera. And speaking of Frizera, he's coming into the pit lane now, so he's seen the writing on the wall. He's seen Valero closing up to him, and he was like, I don't want to lose time fighting him, just give me my clean air back. Goes into the pit lane. And just a reminder, folks, you need to stop at your correct pit box. We've seen so many people just carry on or stopping at the wrong pit box and losing races because of it, and you don't want to see that in any race. People losing races because they've stopped 2 meters ahead of their pit box or 2 meters after. But they see Pedro Dean then, who is way ahead. Actually, you see him there in the front end. Well, at this point, Soriano needs to pull a whopping like 4 seconds or so if he wants to come out in the lead.
Yeah, and for everyone out there, just a quick reminder, out here for heat number 1, it is double the points of heat number 2 and qualifying. So if you didn't do that great in qualifying, you get a great run out here in heat number 1. This is really the heat that probably matters the most in comparison to the other ones. Of course, you always want to be consistent, trying to go for those top 5 finishes, and all of them are going to put you at the top of the leaderboard. So that's what Pedro Dean has been doing out in qualifying. Pedro Dean did pretty well out there, came in 5th place and currently in 4th place out here in heat number 1. Like we said, there's a really good chance with where these guys end up hitting 18 seconds, so that gap is consistently closing out here. I know earlier on Pedro Dean had the fastest lap, and it looks like he still does have the fastest lap so far out here, a 1:24.2. So Pedro Dean definitely made the right choice in the Aston Martin today, doing an excellent job. I think definitely GT4s might just be this man's bread and butter out here. As we see, just absolutely great turn in on the hairpin out here. And I think that's kind of what has stunted some of the other drivers, definitely coming out of the hairpin, not getting the best of exits. But Pedro Dean showing why he's so far set the fastest lap time and currently in that 4th place, looking like he has a really good shot at holding on to the lead once our top 3 drivers end up hitting the pits.
Yeah, and I would say right now my favorite to win this race is Pedro Dean. However, the last time I said a driver was doing really well, he ended up spinning 2 corners later, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. But I would say right now he's in the prime position. I mean, he's got clean air, he's slowly but surely closing in on Lozano and Valero and Tobias Soriano, and he's already made his pit stop. So, he just hit the wall there, so maybe commentator scores coming back then. But I think he is my favorite right now. I mean, he managed to get past Bruno De Carmo and pull a gap on him, so that's already very impressive. And now he's closing in as well, like I mentioned, on this man right here, Lozano, who's kind of in a... He's just chilling. He's got no one around him, no one to pressure him, and I think that's what you need in a race like this. Longer race, 25 laps. where you just do your own race until the pit stops, and then final 5 laps or so, you come alive and start overtaking everyone. And Tobias Soriano, he's currently rather the opposite. I mean, he has got his own clean air, but he's pushing very hard, and I think he needs to, Kevin, if he wants to come out ahead of Pedro Dean, which is a tall order.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for any of these top 3 drivers. Again, I think Toby Soriano has the best shot at coming out ahead of Pedro Dean once he hits the pits. But like I said, that gap is only closing every single lap that these guys stay out. So, I mean, really, the earlier they pit, the better. I mean, you want to have that clean air and really not have that pressure. But at the same time, sometimes it's a little bit better to have that pressure. Again, you want to get out in front of these drivers. This is one of those courses, it's a lot easier to be defensive than it is to pass. Again, most of these we've gotten to see on the long straightaways where these guys have kind of gotten their passes done, or just a slight mistake from the driver ahead of them. So Toby Soriano, so far the biggest mover, 11 spots up into first place. Did excellent in the qualifying session in second place, just behind Juan Blanat. Speaking of Juan Blanat, he's kind of been hanging out in the middle of the pack nearly this entire heat. So not sure exactly what happened. Of course, that big incident early on at the beginning of the race, right on the start, had a lot to do with these guys towards the middle and back of the pack, really just having to hit the pits early, or again, just having a bit of damage. And that unfortunately kind of ruined their race a little bit. So those guys are looking to redeem themselves for heat number 2. But right now, still, Mauricio Lozano third, Gael Valero second, and Toby Soriano in first place, as we're in lap 16 of 25 out here in heat number 1.
Yep, and right now, the biggest question is, when will the top 3 pit? Everyone else has pit, and you mentioned Juan Blanat. I mean, he was on pole, and to be honest, kind of forgot that he was racing. I mean, he's been in the mid-pack, and he must have got caught up in that opening, I would say opening lap, but it was before the race started, in that formation lap incident then, as everyone backed up into the airpin of turn 11 there. So, yeah, such a shame, man. But like you said, he gets to give another shot in heat 2 that, as, yeah, when will the top 3 pick, Kevin? It seems like we will get a replay now of what I assume will be the formation lap. I'm trying to figure out, I think it is the formation lap. And it is turn 11 right here. So it seems like you have just a car on the inside going super slow, and then yeah, I think you were right there. Just everyone braking on the inside a bit too late, not realizing how tight it is, and just, I mean, it became a car park. There might be, I don't know, an excellent deal on sim racing gear right there that they would like to get their hands on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm not sure if the incident was necessarily caused by anyone in particular. It's kind of hard to tell from that angle, but it did look like Evandro Dantas was kind of a little bit wide there, a couple of the other drivers as well. So like I said, just them trying to really go in, kind of use the racing line, which of course, until you are started in the race, the formation lap, you do not want to be on the racing line. You want to kind of stay on your half of the lane. So these guys, like I said, squeezing out everyone on the outside a little bit more towards the wall. They didn't have much. They didn't really calculate that that would happen, as well as it looked like someone even trying to go 3 wide there, trying to just get a bit of a jump on the other guys. So definitely, like I said, usually qualifying is a big deal out here at Long Beach, but with that top 15 reverse grid, we've seen exactly the chaos that unfolded. But right now, still, Toby Soriano out there has gotten quite a big gap now, over 8.5 seconds, almost 9 seconds over Mauricio Lozano. So he's finally found his pace out here, but there's still 11 seconds between Pedro Dean, Gael Valero. We might really have to see where Toby Soriano comes out in front of Pedro Dean. I think that's going to be the one to look. Looks like Gael Valero probably going to be quite a bit behind, with just about 11.8 seconds in the delta there. So again, Gael Valero, one of those, barely didn't get caught up in there. He had to pretty much brake and just park it, but now here we go. Gael Valero still yet to pit. Mauricio Lozano as well as Toby Soriano. Fastest lap still Pedro Dean. So Pedro Dean just absolutely pulling away from Bruno De Carmo. He's only a couple tenths of a second faster each lap, but hey, every tenth makes a huge difference out here when you have some of these races. Like I said, 25 laps out here at Long Beach. Ooh, Gael Valero, look how close he's getting to these walls. It just amazes me how much precision that these drivers have in these vehicles.
I think Valero made a mistake while we were looking at that replay of the formation lap, because he was in P2, and you can see there at the bottom of your screen not too long ago, it said he lost 10 seconds in sector 1. to Lozano, and Lozano was in P3 before while Valero was in P2, and that would also explain the almost 10-second gap that Soriano has to P2, and that might be why he's getting so close to these walls now. He's starting to get frustrated, which is, as I said, this is where you might lose your cool here with these mistakes, but he's certainly pushing, you see, half a tenth gain in Sector 1, but then Juan Blenat, our pole sitter, then just behind Frezer, who was one of the earlier of the front runners who pit, did come out ahead of him. So yeah, I'm not really sure what happened with Valero. He must have spun it or got straight on, maybe done what Evandro Dantes did at the start of the race. I would love to see a replay, but yeah, now we go. Juan Blenat gets past Frezer, showing that he's still got race pace and not just qualifying pace.
Yeah, and I seen someone asking in the chat out there, asking, you know, hey, definitely risky moves there. Our thoughts on going 3 wide. I mean, out here at Long Beach, there's really nowhere that you want to go 3 wide, much less even 2 wide. There's a few places you could get away with going 2 wide, but even just that is risky in itself. So 3 wide, you're kind of just asking for a crash at that point. Like I said, it's very hard to know whenever you're just so focused on the chaos, the green flag going, everything all at once. Where are the other drivers? So especially some of these guys I've seen out here still only running on a single monitor. So that's absolutely just a little bit detrimental whenever you don't know exactly how close some of these other guys are. So that's really where the triple monitors, even VR, can play a huge role in some tight tracks like this. Still, Toby Soriano now leading that gap even more from Mauricio Lozano. So almost 10 seconds. I think at this point, Toby Soriano is just going to go down probably to the penultimate lap before he hits the pits and just try and get back out there. Again, wants to come out. However, Pedro Dean now from the next place, he's about 12 seconds. But Pedro Dean, between him and first place, it's looking about a 25-second gap. So it's going to come down pretty close to where these guys will come out. Toby Soriano knows that, so he's just going to try and get every bit of pace out of here, especially now that he has less fuel. He's going to want to try and keep that fuel down, keep the weight down, and try and just get faster and faster. But still, Pedro Dean, still the fastest out here in heat number 1.
I think Tobias Soriano's best chance of winning this race is staying out until lap 24. I doubt that he will have enough pace to where he can get past Pedro Dean. He needs to just pray that pace he is at right now is enough that after he pits, he comes out ahead of Pedro Dean. And it's looking very touch and go. 25 seconds, like you said. Will it be enough? It's going to have to be a near perfect pit stop if he even wants a chance, to be honest. But Pedro Dean, yep, like in chat, is fine. He is doing exactly what he needs to do right now, and he's actually closing up to Valero ever so slightly. But I think Soriano knows that as well, that his best chance is to win this race is to stay out as long as possible.
Yeah, and like we said, there's a bit of chaos going out here early on, but I wanted to talk about last weekend. In case you missed that one, definitely catch that race after. We were out in the Indy cars, out of the Daytona Oval, a combination you don't ever see. And I mean, we might have gotten a bit of a preview last week and why you probably don't see Indy cars race at the Daytona Oval. It came down to the line, some epic finishes, a bit of a controversial finish there towards the line as well. So definitely catch that one after this race if you have want to get more racing in the day. Like I said, we knew it was going to be a bit chaos all day long, and we were not disappointed with that. However, out here, like we said, didn't know quite what to expect out here at Long Beach with the GT4s. A little bit different than what you normally see out at Long Beach. Again, seen some people earlier on, hey, when they're saying, what else are we going to do for AMX? I mean, hey, I would think it'd be awesome if we had some drifting going on out here too. I know there's some people out in the chat that love watching drifting, so definitely that'd be an interesting take as well. As, hey, people say, what about rally? What about rally cross? What about all these other things? And I mean, technically, we're not stuck with iRacing. We're out here, whatever the best sims out there, whatever is entertaining, fun for the drivers, all around. You never know what the future has to hold. And speaking about the future, next week we will have a bit of an off week for the season. Of course, some other things going on as well. As well as tomorrow, we mentioned earlier on for AMX ZERO, make sure to stick around for tomorrow's race. We're going to be out there in Bathurst, not running the full Bathurst 1000, running about 25% of it, having a 90-minute race out there in the V8 supercars. Anytime you put V8 supercars on the mountain, it is sure to be a race for survival. So again, if I had the iRating for that one, I'd absolutely love to be on it. But hey, that's why I guess I'll start having to practice for next year and next season try to get involved in some of these races that I'm not commentating on. But nonetheless, still Toby Soriano now, lap number 22 of 25, has about 11-second gap, increasing that gap ever so slightly lap after lap. But Julian, when is this guy going to hit the pits?
Well, as you were talking, I just kept reminding myself of that scene in Cars 1 where Lightning McQueen just refuses to pit. It seems like right now he wants this race to go on a bit longer so he can use that pace to either close up to Pedro Dean or come out ahead of him. But I was having a look at lap times and they're pretty much dead even. I mean, they're separated by a tenth or so, Tobias Soriano and Pedro Dean then. And, well, you were talking about you racing it tomorrow if you had the iRacing. You never know. Maybe AMX Season 7, us two will be side by side in AMX ZERO. You never know what can happen. I've seen quite a few commentators change the rules and go onto the track then for certain races if they have the time or if they just really like that tracking card combo. But yeah, Tobias Soriano, he's just, oh, there it is, into the pit lane. He goes then. I wonder if Lozano is going to follow through. No, I think he stayed out. Yes, he has, as well as Valera. He is Pedro Dean, and will he come out ahead? I think it's going to be touch and go.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty close out here, so keep an eye there in your bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Pedro Dean now coming around the final turn out of the hairpin. He's about 100 meters off of these guys, so now Gael Valero still hasn't pitted yet, able to take that top spot, trying to get one more lap in before he has to hit the pits as well. So Gael Valero going to be the last to pit out here. Pedro Dean looking like he might just have it over Toby Soriano, and he does. Bruno De Carmo now, will he get it? As we keep an eye out on Toby Soriano coming out in third place, but like we said, these guys have the momentum now going into turn number one. That will be it for Toby Soriano, holding on to, oh, Bruno De Carmo catching up super quick right on his bumper. Now we have a battle going on for third place, folks.
Oh, if there would have been any other corner combination other than that, I think Bruno De Carmo would have sent it up the inside. Maybe just a short straight. I mean, he was right up his bumper there. When he came out of turn one, like you said, he had the momentum coming in and also coming out of the pit lane. He turned out to wash a bit wide there in the braking zone and especially in the exit. But you can see Bruno De Carmo, he's looking very racy. He's looking left, he's looking right. He's trying to find any sort of space. But I think Tobias Soriano, he's like half a lap and then he's back into it. But yeah, in the end, it wasn't even close between him and Pedro Dean. And I think Valera might finish outside the top 5 here for the first time in. Well, I've never seen him finish outside the top 5, so that might be rewriting history right there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure things. Oh, and we have a spin right there. Bruno De Carmo getting spun around. Definitely we caught the tail end of that. Now trying to just get back out there, trying not to cause an incident, but just like that, Bruno De Carmo looking like he was getting a podium spot potentially now. Unfortunately, like we said, right on the very hairpin. The last corner has been the detriment to these drivers all day long, from the beginning of the race, qualifying all the way to now, the penultimate lap. So we're on lap number 24-25. There we can see Martin Chico trying to hold off Juan Blanat. Juan Blanat being extremely aggressive, trying to get every inch of pace that he can out here, as we can see him just brushing up against these walls. We know he has the pace over Martin Chico. Again, the two Argentinian drivers now. Juan Blanat going for the move. Martin Chico says, you know what? I'm going to concede that space as fast as he caught up to him. I don't want to be involved in an incident. He knows that he has Roberto Freeze there quite a bit behind him too. So with only about a lap and a half out here left to go, these drivers trying to hold on to their positions, but trying to be smart and not wreck, like we just seen Bruno De Carmo unfortunately getting spun around on the last lap. Here we go, folks. Gael Valero, he's going to have to pit now or else he may just throw this race away. So he knows that, trying to get again into the pits. And this is going to be the race. Where will he come out? Looking like Pedro Dean will have that top spot in the bags. He's going to have to keep it clean for lap number 25. The white flag is about to come out. Pedro Dean may just be coming out here another winner today, Julian.
Absolutely, but I can't believe I've just jinxed another driver like that. As soon as I praise them, they go ahead and spin from a solid position like P3, P4, or even P1 like we saw in AMX ZERO. As we saw, I think that's, yeah, Valera outside the top 5, then he's in P6, as he might even drop down Bruno De Carmo there. Even with this spin, I think he will get him with the momentum, or it's going to be a copy and paste like it was, but he's learned his lesson to go early into the apex, and he has just got ahead of Valero, who's dropped down to P7, as Lozano is now right behind Valero as well. So that spin by Valero has cost him quite a few positions.
And here we have battle going on for 4th place. Martin Chico trying to hold off Roberto Frizer. Frizer doing great early on in this, and now goes for that inside line. These two going side by side. Ooh, that could have been pretty risky right there. Martin Chico still trying to hold off onto it, trying to put a little bit of a squeeze onto Frizer, now holding that defensive line. These guys, it might be down to the final hairpin for them. Who's going to get the better line into it? Frizer now just looks like he has a little bit of pace over Martin Chico now, trying to go on the outside. We'll have to see as he goes, trying to ring it around the outside, and he might just have it. Oh no, he goes into the wall, slamming the wall, letting Martin Chico back into that 4th place position, and that might have done it in, as now the checkered flag flies for Pedro Dean again, coming across a winner once again there. Roberto Frizer trying to inch it out, going around the hairpin, getting a little bit loose, but Martin Chico holding on to that 4th place. So folks, that's going to be it. Pedro Dean coming across your heat number 1 winner, followed by Toby Soriano in 2nd place and Juan Blanat in 3rd. Juan Blanat doing an excellent job fighting his way all the way through the pack, getting onto that podium.
Wow, well, it was all or nothing for Frizer there around the outside, but just not enough there. The brakes just not wanting to give him the stopping power he needed, and he slammed into the wall. He'll be glad that he just got P5 there, as photo finish there between Gael Valera and Lozano, less than half a tenth separating them in the end.
So just like that, we got to see some bit of frustration, a bit of heartbreak going on early on in this race, as well as these guys just absolutely ecstatic. I know Pedro Dean is feeling super excited about that one. Once again, like you said, trying to get out there and get maybe a bit of warm-up. But Pedro Dean, your BenQ session winner for heat number 1. Again, double the points. That's going to put him in the lead right now for today's race. Toby Soriano coming in 2nd, Juan Blanat in 3rd, Martin Chico 4th, Roberto Frizer in 5th, Bruno De Carmo 6th place, Gael Valero in 7th, Mauricio Lozano 8th, Felipe Spetronev in 9th, Diego Villarreal 10th place, Gaston Culavi 11th, Evandro Dantas 12th, and Ruben Llorente coming in 13th. And of course, Pedro Dean holding on to that fastest lap for nearly the entire heat number 1. So now he's going to have his work cut out for him, going to have to battle his way through the pack once again. We'll have to see. Julian, we had that incident going on the formation lap there in heat number 1. Hopefully these guys played a little bit safer, but only time will tell. Again, like I said, Pedro Dean looking like so far he may be in the lead, but Juan Blanat getting a great position there as well, coming in 3rd place. So again, Juan Blanat was the fastest in qualifying, as well as Toby Soriano in 2nd. So those guys, again, it's really still anyone's race out here for overall points today.
100%, but that double points race in heat 1, that is where you want to be. And we had some drivers there who, getting caught up in incidents or just spinning on their own, were not there, and I think that could be crucial, just at the end of the session, but also at the end of the championship. Just like that's how close it is. One race and the entire championship can be flipped on its head. Luckily, the likes of Valera has not had a race where he's completely down and out of it, just like P7 or P8, where you still get a good amount of points, especially in heat 1 where it is double the points.
Yeah, and right now, speaking of the overall AMX 5 championship, Pedro Dean is about 78 points down in 2nd place behind Gael Valera. So he still has his work cut out for him, but if he keeps having races like he's having today, I mean, he might just close that gap for the championship come the end of the season. So definitely close as here. The infamous hairpin. Are these guys going to take a little bit more? It looks like that BMW just doesn't have the turning radius, spinning around one of the other guys. So, those guys are not going to be happy about that one. Evandro Dantas spinning another driver before the race starts. But just like that, the green flag is out and the drivers are off. Ruben Llorente, Felipe Spechinov leading the pack. We'll have to see if these guys are able to get a good one going into that turn number 1. Ruben Llorente got a great, amazing start, of course, setting the pace for the rest of these drivers. Now, too wide, almost going into that first turn 1. Everyone keeping it pretty clean into turn number 1. Like we said, the hairpin has been dangerous. Almost a bit of an incident between Mauricio Lozano, Bruno De Carmo having to really check up coming out of the mountain turn now. Going in, we see back to Evandro Dantas. Oh, taking it wide, slamming into that. We have Roberto Frizer doing a great job and not getting caught up into that. Just shows how nimble these Aston Martins are out here. And Evandro Dantas, that BMW, not looking like it's the good choice out here for this track today.
Absolutely not. I mean, we saw him that hairpin there. He was struggling to get the car turned in. And when we talked about that there once again, so surely something must be wrong with that front axle of the BMW, because he's just not got any turning radius at all. He is still a pretty quick thing down the straight, but as soon as it comes to right-handers, he just understeers like a bus. But when we were talking about the hairpin being a tricky section for these guys, I was expecting it to be during the race and not for a formation lap. As there it is, this is what I was expecting during the race, some bumping and banging between the doors, and into the pit lane goes Evandro Dantas then, so something must be wrong with his front axle as there is no mandatory pit stop in heat to them. But now look at that, Valero on Spitrini. Oh, he had a look, but he thought the better of it. He knows there's still a long race to go, 16 laps then, and don't want to get caught up in something early on like we've seen at the back of the grid.
Yeah, so now back to our leader still, Ruben Llorente taking advantage of that incident going on still. About 2 seconds over Felipe Spetchenev in second place, but Spetchenev now having to battle off Gael Valero. So Gael Valero able to avoid the chaos at the beginning of heat number 2. Unfortunately got caught up in heat number 1, but now showing that he knows he has excellent pace already in contention for a podium position. We'll have to see as Gael Valero, I have no doubt that he has it in him, as long as, again, the incidents out here are really what's being detrimental to these drivers, taking out more people than we'd like. So Gael Valero, as well as now Roberto Frizer just behind them. These two guys trying to battle off Spitchernev just a little bit earlier on the brakes, trying to keep it safe. That's really the hard part out here this early on in the race, the first couple of laps, just knowing how much grip you have. And again, seems like the Aston Martin's really able to just dive a little bit more on the brakes into some of these corners. Again, these cars all have a little bit different horsepower, a little bit different weight, so that's definitely coming to show out here. Again, the BMW, what we got to see early on, not the best turning radius, a bit of a pig out here at Long Beach. So up sees right now still Ruben Llorente now up 3 seconds over Gael Valero. But folks, we have 18 laps in this one. It is a sprint race format. Definitely gonna have to see where these guys end up at the end of the checkered flag.
Yeah, like you mentioned, different cars, different strong points and different weaknesses. Another thing I love with GT4 and GT3s, drivers can pick what car they like the most, what fits their driving style. The Aston Martin, very nimble in the corners. The Mercedes, very quick on the straights. Then you have the BMW, which is cosplaying as a racing car, but actually has no turn-in whatsoever. But both of these guys now starting to, starting to look like he wants to get past Petrinev, and he is right behind him, getting onto the straight then with the slipstream. If he can just go to the inside, but Petrinev holding the inside, so it's going to be the outside then for Frizer. Last time he tried to do this, he went slamming into the wall, so I'm sure he'll break a bit earlier. Doesn't look like it. He's still going to try it around the outside, but he's going to get shown the wall, and instead he needs to look behind him as Bruno De Carmo is going to say thank you very much, and he's going to try and pick it up down the inside into the hairpin, the two Delete Esports, and now a switchback left to right. What a move from Martin Chico, two at once in one corner. That is absolutely incredible. He saw those two fighting and he was like, let me just get the better run on you guys. Thank you very much. I'll have P3 or P4, sorry.
Yeah, that was a great move right there from Martin Chico. So again, probably one of the best moves that we've seen all day. Again, this just shows you have to be extremely patient and opportunistic out here at Long Beach, and that's paying off right now for Martin Chico. Again, that battling going on has left a little bit of a gap between the top three and P4. Right now it's battling for P3 again. Spitchernev, Martin Chico, Roberto Frizer. Everyone kind of forming a train now from P4 all the way on back, all the way down towards the end. Again, Evandro Dantas having that bit of incident going on at the beginning of the race. Hit the pits now in the back. So we'll have to see if these guys towards the front end up having a bit of back marking. Oh, there, Martin Chico now. Spetchenev going back and forth. We'll have to see exactly what happened there. Martin Chico once again holding some great lines out here in that AMG car. Oh, a bit of a contact out there. Around goes Spetchenev, and that looks like that was Roberto Frizer getting to the side of him. Unfortunately now, Spetchenev getting sent all the way down back into 11th place.
Oh yeah, and that's just a bit of understeer. Now that's a lot of understeer from Frizer. The Dungwai didn't heat one, but a whole lot worse, just going straight on there. Not sure if he missed his braking zone or just getting onto some very part of the track. He was on the very inside there, which is not where you want to be. But now I got two incidents to comment on. The first one, just a bit of understanding tagging on the rear end, which is what happens most of the time. The second one is quite a bit harder to explain. Just missed his braking point, or just like on the dirty side of the track, something like that. I mean, I would love to see a replay on that then, which I'm sure we'll get. Sure, but lap 15 out of 18, and it feels like we've already had enough chaos and entertainment for at least this full race, 18 laps. Then, as now with all these incidents, everyone starts to get a bit more spread out and not in a train like, which is not so great for action, but a whole lot better for these cars not spinning around and hitting each other.
Yeah, and in heat number one, I think it was very advantageous for there to be a mandatory pit stop for these drivers, because now looks like Pedro Dean still has the fastest lap, but right now he's just having to battle off, make his way through traffic, so that is still slowing him down just a little bit now in some of these laps. It seems like once he gets the clean air, he's able to do excellent, but once he gets into lapped, or not even lap traffic, just traffic in general, he is just kind of falling back, not really able to get the lines he wants. And now, ooh, we see Toby Soriano right there in the distance behind him, looking like Jaws coming out. We'll have to see how close that he can get now. Pedro Dean gonna have to worry about holding off Toby Soriano. He knows he has the pace out here, as now trying to make the move over Villarreal. Looks like he will have just enough speed, potentially trying to get that inside line into turn number one. Now it's gonna just be keeping it safe. Villarreal not really fighting too much, and we have Toby Soriano trying to slot in right behind again, trying to see who is the better line to take, and it is following Pedro Dean into turn number one right there. Villarreal conceding that space a little bit, just saying, you know what, I don't want to end up into an incident. I want to finish this race. So great racecraft from all those drivers right there, but still Pedro Dean now has a little bit, about 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds to catch up to Bruno De Carmo. So in lap number 6 of 18 out here, we're a third of the way through this thing. Let's see if Pedro Dean is able to get back up into podium contention.
It's gonna be a tall order for him. I mean, P5 right now. He seems like he's slowly closing up Bruno De Carmo, hard to make up now that he just got into clean air, but only 18 laps then, and already a third of the way through then, and he just needs to make sure that Toby Soriano does not try and overtake him, because then they'll both lose time. And we've seen people fight before. You lose so much time in just like 2, 3, maybe even 4 corners just going side by side. So that's the exact opposite of what they need to do then. But right now Pedro Dean is pretty much going against the pace of Martin Chico, as Bruno De Carmo is stuck behind him there, 1 second behind them. But Valero slowly but surely closing in on the lead. Lorente has done very well to keep the lead up till lap 7. He's taking advantage of everyone kind of being half asleep at the start of the race, then where he just got that that big jump on everyone. But now Toby Soriano looks to the outside and just hoping to get a better run then, but he needs to stick behind, especially around the fountain.
Yeah, and looking there too, Gael Valero does have the pace over Ruben Llorente, so definitely, I mean, we're not even halfway through this race, so I expect him to close that gap over the next several laps. Again, nothing too crazy, but just enough. Hey, that consistency counts every single lap. Like I said, every 10th matters. So when you're a 10th off, hey, 10 laps in, that means you're going to be a second of. So definitely plenty of time for Gael Valero to close that gap. Not really too worried about Martin Chico behind him, but right now, still battle going on between Pedro Dean and Toby Soriano. I think right now, again, where Toby Soriano was in heat number 1, just not quite trying to force the move. Again, just really being extremely patient out here. Probably waiting for Pedro Dean to make a mistake, but he knows Pedro Dean's really good. So also, some of the long straights out here, it'd just be beneficial for these two guys to kind of work together, try to close that gap if either of them want to have a shot at getting onto the podium.
Yeah, they kind of need to work together, slipstreaming each other, maybe even a bit of pump drafting down the straight, which can end badly, but whatever you do to catch up to the leading runner, and they are slowly closing up to Bruno De Carmo. Gap was 2.3, it's now 2 seconds, but not enough where they catch up and then the overtake, as two completely different stories that are catching up and overtaking. But Bruno De Carmo also starting to drop off from Martin Chico. But Lorente he's now got Valero for company behind him. The Aston Martin has caught up to the Mercedes, and I think Valero will get by, but will be rather patient. He doesn't tend to go for aggressive overtakes as long as he's not under pressure or something like that from behind from a faster driver, but usually he isn't. I will assume he'll go for it in like 1 or 2 laps as soon as he susses out where am I quicker, where can I brake later than him, and when he gets a good run on him as well. And it will probably be down this next straight in a lap or two's time, where he is close enough to where the slipstream really does its work and he can just send it up the inside.
So yeah, right here, like I said, I always love seeing the driver cam there of Llorente. Just seeing that, it looks like he just pulled a seat out of a regular car, put it on his sim rig and said, you know what, this is good enough for me. I don't need a racing seat. I just need something that's comfortable. So definitely coming out here, still Gael Valero showing great pace. Like I said, he closed that gap really quick out here. He knows once he's able to get into the slipstream, and he's already trying to take a little bit more of that inside line, saying, no, I'm not going to do it this lap. I still have plenty of time, about 10 laps roughly, to get this move done over Llorente. Look, we got to see last time around Gael Valero making a little bit of a mistake in heat number 1, kind of put him back down. Not quite exactly where he wanted to be, but like we said, these guys, it was between, well, last time, yeah, we had a couple, Lozano, Martin Chico, Valero. There's quite a few people out here that we got to see. Again, it all comes down to how well are these drivers doing throughout the entire heat. Again, no mandatory pit stops for heat number 2, so the consistency is key. Probably sound like a broken record at this point, how many times we say that, but it's absolutely important. So Gael Valero, one of the most consistent drivers out here. It's very rare that we do see a mistake from him. So he has the pace we keep seeing through the sectors. Again, Julian, I kind of want to go back to see what happened again out in heat number 2, right on the formation lap on the hairpin. I mean, I'd be interested. We got to see a little bit from our point of view. It did look like the BMW of Evandro Dantas just can't really turn around that hairpin quite as good as these other cars.
Yeah, and I would say I stick to your theory with what you said happened in Heat 1, just the guys on the inside not realizing how sharp it is. I mean, it is pretty much a straight 100-degree turn for those guys on the insides. I mean, the inside wall is the same piece of steel or whatever the wall is made out of, which is the inside wall for the exit as well. So it's got to be that, just running out a bit too wide and then just other cars being forced into the wall. But then he also ended up spinning, which he must have got caught up on someone's like front left or maybe rear right. I would love to see a replay of that as well. And someone asked us top pick for, or who's your top pick for the winner for Heat 2. It's got to be this man right here who we're on board with, Valero. I mean, the pace he's been setting, and he's chilling right now. I mean, he's just relaxing, looking for a space where he can go once he's close enough, and he is closing up gap 4/10. Now I reckon next lap he can go for an overtake.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I mean, Gael Valero, just off of pace alone, I mean, the numbers don't lie. As long as he's able to just keep it clean, keep it, be patient, and just wait for that perfect opportunity. But right now, again, it's going to come down to how well of an exit can he come out. Looking like he's right on the rear bumper of the number 8 of Llorente. So definitely this might be the moment if he's able, about 4/10 of a second. So, I mean, Llorente, though, is just getting an amazing jump out of that hairpin every single lap. So again, Gael Valero, it's looking like the back and forth between the AMGs and the Aston Martins out here now, kind of going for a little bit of a mind games right there. So I think, again, he's going to probably try and force it. He knows he has outright pace overall, but again, just depending on certain sectors, like right here, he catches up a lot going in through the fountain, but you just can't really pass coming out of the fountain. I mean, you could try, but again, Gael Valero is a veteran. He's smart enough to know if he tries to make a pass there, there's a good chance he's going to end up wrecking himself out of this race. So now we see, it looks like these guys are about to come onto some back markers. So I'm not sure, that looked like that might have been a brief glimpse of Roberto Frizer out there in 13th place. So this is going to be where things get a bit interesting, Julian, once back markers come into the equation.
Absolutely, and I would say this battle pictures the strengths. Here we go, then Valero down the inside, exactly what I predicted, and look at that, Llorente doesn't really fight it, but what I was going to say is this battle shows the strength and weakness of each car perfectly. up until the point where Valero got past. We saw that on the straight, Valero, he had pretty much no match to the Mercedes, even with his slipstream. It was barely closing in, and we might see the Mercedes actually get back on the main straight, which is quicker on the straight with a slipstream, but Valero seems to have gone a good run, which is the Aston Martin's strengths, just the nimbleness throughout the corner, very light, the chassis, super easy to maneuver around these tight corners at Long Beach. And catching up to a backmark, I mean, Roberto Frezza, he's not a slow driver, so I doubt they'll catch up rapidly. Seems like they'll touch the wall there a bit, but they could end up catching up if Frezza is still carrying a slight bit of damage from his lack of braking going into the right hand of turn 7 or 8, I believe.
Yeah, looking at the timing screen, so Roberto Frezza, he was in the pits for over a minute, so looks like he might have had just enough time to get that damage repaired, at least enough to kind of have good race pace out here. So, I mean, he's still running 1 minute 24, so in terms of race pace right now, Roberto Frezza not doing too bad. It just, like you said, unfortunately, a bit of not sure if he missed the braking marker or what happened that sent him all the way into the barrier, but right now he's still showing decent pace. Unfortunately, this might be it, but hey, he's being a good sport about it so far, not just saying, you know what, I wrecked out, I'm just going to stay out of there. He said, nope, I'm getting back in the pits, getting what I can repaired to get some more points on the board. So again, 13 drivers out on the field today. All of them will be walking home with points so long as they finish the race. So he's focused on that, focused on the overall championship. And right now, still speaking of the overall championship, Gael Valero having a bit of an unfortunate heat number 1. Things not really going his way with that incident early on, but able to start making his way through the pack out here, able to take advantage of that incident going on very early on in heat number 2, and has since made his way up 6 positions into first place. Now, folks, we are lap number 13 out of 18 out here in heat number 2. Your running order is Gael Valero in first, Ruben Llorente in second, and Martin Chico in third.
And as one battle starts to fade out, the battle for the lead, another one just appears out of thin air. Diego Villarreal and Lozano here fighting for P7 and P8. It's still a good amount of points that you can claim, as also Villa Soriano still behind Pedro Dean. And Pedro Dean, I doubt he'll be catching up to Bruno de Carmona this late on in the race. He'll have to settle for P5 and an amazing Heat 1 win. It must be said, one of the best performances from him and that we've seen him AMX 5, and that seems to be his strength, Kevin. Heat 1, that seems to be where he is the strongest, as Lozano now seems to have gone a run onto the back straight then, and he has got the inside. I think he has got this move now down the inside. Yes, he does. The McLaren tries the switchback, just the Mercedes covers off the apex brilliantly, and yeah, as I said, Heat 1, that's where Pedro Dean really shines with the strategy, and he really nailed that.
Yeah, it's just like we said, all day long, these guys have been just doing some textbook moves out here. Not really focused too much on trying to be super aggressive. It seems that the guys that have been extremely aggressive out here have kind of paid the price a bit today on some of these turns. So Long Beach, one of those you don't want to really mess with it too much, but oh, here we go back to the battle once again. Pedro Dean, Toby Soriano, we got to see these guys battling it out pretty much all day. Again, Pedro Dean setting the pace, had fastest lap, got that Heat 1 win out here. Unfortunately, it's looking like how far he is behind in Heat number 2. He may not be getting on the podium, so again, it is just for trying to get as much points as he can in the championship. Again, Pedro Dean currently second place in the AMX 5 championship so far. Has quite a bit of a gap to make up between him and Gael Valero. Like I said, from qualifying as well as that Heat 1 win definitely helped him out a bit, but if Gael Valero gets the win out here in Heat number 2, it might just keep that gap at arm's length. So Toby Soriano as well, showing great pace, but again, I think it just might be how the McLaren drives out here. He's still doing a great job. Of course, you always want to be comfortable in the car that you're driving, but it seems like the Aston Martin's just having a little bit better pace out here at Long Beach today.
Yeah, and that surprises me a bit, to be honest. I mean, we've talked about Long Beach, power-hungry track. I mean, you've got this mega long main straight, then a long back straight as well. But it seems like just in the corners, especially through Fountain, you just need that nimbleness. But now, Villa Soriano, down the inside of turn 1. This can get feisty there as it gets tight. And now we're heading into the wall on the exit. And well, they've managed to do one thing, and that's to not go side by side through this section right here, which is where the Aston Martin is the strongest. But right there, Soriano just going in a bit too hard, and I think Jardine there flashing his lights just to let him know that was a bit unfair and not cool from him, just to ram him into the wall there. But it's aggressive moves from Tobias Soriano tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you can see right there, just kind of, Pedro Dean just kind of threw his hands up like, hey, man, what was that about? I mean, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a really aggressive dive bomb per se, but definitely he got in and didn't quite leave enough space for him. Just like you said, I think that's more Pedro Dean's frustration. It was just like, hey, man, you're supposed to leave me space, you know? See the meme from FOA, you have to leave space all the time, but that's definitely what we just seen right there. A little bit optimistic on his line from Toby Soriano, and unfortunately squeezed Pedro Dean right into the barrier. So luckily, hopefully Pedro Dean didn't really get any damage from that one. I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on his pace where it's at, but again, with just a few laps left, Pedro Dean now gonna probably just try to hold off, and oh, he might have had damage from that one. Pedro Dean hitting the pits, man. I'm sure, like I said, that's one of those things. Not sure if he's going to try to protest that, say, hey, you have to leave the space. I had the racing line there. I was ahead. Toby Soriano tried to get it onto the door to be able to get side by side, but like I said, a bit over optimistic there. Now Pedro Dean coming back out of the pit. So we'll have to take a look on where that puts Pedro Dean now, coming out, dropping down all the way, still holding on into the top 10, but he looked like he had a pretty good shot for a top 5. Right now, still Gael Valero in first, Ruben Llorente second place, Martin Chico in third.
Well, I don't know what to say. I was doing P5 super well in Heat 2. Of course, you can't expect to go back-to-back in these AMX 5 races, which are longer than the AMX ZERO, with more competitors, more drivers, more drivers that are hungry for victory. But sometimes that, I'm not sure if the damage is that bad. Of course he would have to pit, but I doubt he got that much damage from, I mean, it was a hefty hit on the wall, but could he have continued on? I mean, that's something I'd love to see, that iRacing update, that we can see like their damage level, so we can see could they have continued on. Maybe sure he would have lost quite a bit of time, but he would have been in P7 maybe instead of down in P10 right now. With, I mean, P10, he might be able to go for fastest lap with no one in front of him, but right now, yeah, just going from P5 to P10, no fault of your own. I mean, you're just running your race, sticking on the racing line, and then there's a car on your inside which forces you into the barrier, and that barrier, it is a tough one, not to put all the blame on Tobias Soriano. It kind of pokes out there exactly where the racing line is, and yeah, it's just a pattern that this track has, that the barriers just come at you thick and fast there on the exits.
So once again, we'll have to see if the racing stewards have anything to say about that, or if perhaps a protest may be in line from Pedro Dean. But still now back towards the front of the pack, we have Martin Chico right now only about half a second behind Ruben Llorente in second place. So the battle for second is starting to ensue, as now Gael Valero starting to lead away a little bit, not too worried about the guys behind him. But again, these guys, both of them are almost guaranteed a podium spot as long as they keep it clean. Again, on the penultimate lap now, we'll have to see where these guys get it, as kind of see Ruben Llorente adjusting something there. Looks like he might be talking to someone out there, letting him know, hey man, whether or not it's fuel, how close the other guys are. But right here, Martin Chico absolutely locking in, saying it's now or never. If I want to do it, the white flag is out. Gael Valero's in the lead. They're not worried about him. Right now, it's about who's going to come out in P number 2. Martin Chico going to absolutely have to put the pressure onto Ruben Llorente if he wants to get that position.
Well, I think pressure is the correct word. He's doing certainly that. He needs to get a good run onto the back straight. That's going to be his best overtaking. Maybe he can challenge him on the run to the line, but with that Mercedes there, oh, big dive bomb. And I was not expecting it there. That's one of the places where I was expecting him to just sit behind then, as they're now side by side. A bit of wheel banging then. Now they're going to get onto the back straight. This is where I was expecting a move, but what he's done there, he's forced Llorente there onto the inside line, so he gets a better run. Llorente is hugging that inside line. Can Chico find a way? We've seen drivers go on the outside on the final lap before. That time it didn't end up well. What about this time? No, he just manages to stay in front there, Martin Chico, but you can see Martin Chico, sorry, just looking left, looking right. Now he's gonna go deep, try and get a good run, and what a run he has gotten out of the hairpin. That's absolutely monster on the two Mercedes. I doubt Lorente will have an answer to that. That was Martin Chico, two great moves coming out of the hairpin. My goodness.
So just like that, we've seen Martin Chico throwing out those moves all day long, and that was able to get him into P2 on the final turn. Like we said, the hairpin, a dangerous place to try to make a move, but this man made it stick. Gael Valero walking away with the win. Once he got that fresh air in front of him, he just started walking away lap by lap, a 10th after 10th, all the way up. Now, man, amazing race. Not quite the photo finish that we have seen from AMX5 at times, but still, it came down to the final lap to really split your top three drivers. Martin Chico, Ruben Llorente, great battle going on. Now we get to see as the final drivers come into, and I want to see as the onboard here with Evandro Dantas as he comes into this hairpin, just quite how much, yeah, it's really just running wide. I mean, like I said, for anyone out there watching, if you're thinking of running the BMW M4 GT4 car out at Long Beach, probably not going to be the best idea out here. So we'll have to see. Is now Roberto Frizer again had that incident going on early on. Unfortunately, straight into the wall, had to go into the pits, and now coming back across the line in 13th place. But like we said, Julian, chaos at the beginning of heat number 1, chaos at the beginning of heat number 2. The formation lap, it probably would have been a lot cleaner if we would have had a standing start rather than the rolling start. But hey, it's GT4 cars. That's what we expect. Rolling starts all day long, baby. And in 6th place, Diego Villarreal in 7th, Felipe Petronev in 8th, Gaston Kulavi 9th place, Pedro Dean, who unfortunately, like we said, had a bit of an incident there, had to hit the pits as well, coming in 10th place, Juan Belena in 11th, as well as setting the fastest lap, and Evandro Dantas in 12th, and Roberto Frizer in 13th position. So like we said, a lot of back and forth between these drivers, a couple of controversial moves here and there, as well as I'm sure some of these drivers are going to have something to say about the starts, both on heat number 1 and heat number 2. Julian, what was your biggest takeaway from heats 1 and 2 out here?
Don't underestimate the power of a formation lap, I would say. I mean, we've seen it twice in a row. And you mentioned a standing start could solve the problem, but then we would have had 13 cars even closer packed, heading right towards turn 1 and then the fountain section. So kind of a plus minus with both the formation lap and the standing start. But I feel like despite the action at the start, I mean, the race never really died down and we had action all throughout.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like I said, AMX5 pretty much all season long, it's been a bit of chaos, but definitely a lot of action. Like I mentioned earlier on, from last week when we were out in the IndyCar out at Daytona, that was non-stop chaos and action all day long. Like I said, especially coming down to the line again out here. Great move. I'm sure that one, I wouldn't doubt if that one makes the highlight reel for Martin Chico, getting that very last turn move. But I think it's about time we head into the interview room and check up with the drivers, see how the race went from them. So I'm here joined with Gael Valero. Gael, I mean, right away, I just want to talk about big congratulations on that heat number 2 win, as well as walk through what happened because you got caught up a little bit on that heat 1 incident on the formation lap. Exactly what happened there?
I got a little bit safe, too much, because I know everybody knows that right here, with a rolling start, this hairpin is just death. Things happen. So as soon as I heard some chaos on the right, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be conservative with this. Except I was a little bit too much, so I couldn't turn anymore. So yeah, sadly I went a little bit in the way of Juan as well, so we had both to back it up.
And I mean, a track out here at Long Beach, there's not really too many passing opportunities out here in the GT4s. So really, what was the big strategy going in to really say, hey, what is it going to take to make my way up all the way through the grid out there in heat number 2?
Well, same thing happened, and I wasn't in it, so I guess I just made what I was given, and yeah, even though who was it? Roberto? No, it wasn't Roberto. It was Rubens. Yeah, he had some good pace. He almost could finish in front of Martin Chico. Yeah, he didn't want me to stress him out, I think, for the last half of the race, so he gently let me through. And who was it again? Mauricio? I don't remember. Yeah, I got in the head of the people, I guess, and they didn't want to bother too much with it, so I guess that works.
And there's been a bit of a back and forth on the mandatory pit stops this season for AMX5, but out at Long Beach, would you feel that today the pit stops actually might have helped just with the layout of the track, how tight the corners are, everything? Do you think that the pit stops helped today more than hurt the drivers on some of the other tracks?
Yeah, definitely. You make, I don't know what it's called again. Let's see, no. A bottleneck, let's call it like that. When you have a lot of people that are on the track that are a little bit slower than you, and you catch to them, and if you already pitted, you have no recourse. You have to overtake them on the track, and that costs you time. So the less people you have in front of you, the best it is. So that there was a lot of people pitting early on, and I had one behind me, one in front of me, lap 1, so he pitted, and I kind of knew like he would have to overtake everyone. Sadly, I made a critical mistake in turn 1, kind of bit lost in my thoughts. So I would have been P2 or P3, I guess. And yeah, the pit stop definitely in that case is, yeah, you can make a win quite easily.
And the final question, tomorrow we have Mount Panorama in the V8 Supercars. Are we going to see you out there repping the Ford Mustang once again?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I know I look forward to that. Once again, big congratulations out here for that win in heat number 2, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
See ya.
So there we have it, Julian. We got to see a little bit of an insight on the perspective from Gael Valero. What happened in heat number 1? Like I said, he kind of hit the brakes, didn't get caught up, have any of that damage, but that put him so far behind that he wasn't really able to get into that top 5 finish out there. So again, like we said, that pit stop definitely, when, you know, like Gael was mentioning, the bottleneck that happens at Long Beach, that pit stop definitely helped with the strategy out there. But I think it's about time we're getting in some of the official the preliminary results for the end of the day. Like I said, there's a couple incidents out there that we'll have to see if any of these drivers feel like they want to protest, but a big congratulations on the day. Toby Soriano and Pedro Dean, both of them tying for that top spot out here. A great run from both of those drivers all day long. Coming in 3rd place, we got Juan Blanat, absolutely blazing in qualifying, having to really fight his way during the heats. In 4th place, we got Martin Chico. 5th place, Gael Valero. 6th, Bruno De Carmo. 7th place, Roberto Frizer. 8th place, we got Ruben Llorente. 9th, Mauricio Lozano. And in 10th, we got Felipe Spechanev. So like we said, man, it's you always know there's gonna be a bit of chaos. It's always a matter of when and who. We said that before the stream started. But Julian, again, we got Bathurst coming up tomorrow. What can folks expect for that race?
I would say more of the same. I mean, Bathurst, it's one of those tracks where you cannot be sleeping. You need to be awake. You can't turn autopilot on, tunnel vision, none of that. You gotta be, no, okay, I gotta brake 100 meters before the corners. I gotta turn in 50 meters. I gotta do this and this and this for 90 minutes straight. I mean, it's not the easiest thing, and that's where, you know, the goods are separated from the great. Being able to do something over and over and over again, not just in qualifying, but then in the race where it matters the most.
Absolutely. So everyone out there, make sure to follow all of our social medias, as well as follow our Twitch, subscribe to our YouTube. We got another great one coming up tomorrow. V8 Supercars at Mount Panorama, our AMX 15 Mini Enduro race. But that will be all for today. Again, signing off for AMX, I'm Kevin alongside Julian, and we will see you all next time.